Need a motion to call the town board meeting of May 29th, 2013 to order, please.
I'll second it.
You make the motion.
Oh, I'll make the motion to call it to order.
I need a second.
Second.
Salute the flag. You're gonna wait there. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the military people serving this country, around the world. Thank you. The emergency exits are on your left and the rear, our right. A roll call, please.
Councilwoman Reamer? Here. Councilwoman Cody? Here. Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle? And Supervisor Flood?
Here. What do we have for public comment? Anybody?
Frankie, Tom, Cheryl, and Kevin.
Okay, public comment?
I just wanted to call up here and thank Victoria for her prompt attention to the problem we had at the sewer wasn't working, and you know that was impacting sewer health.
I don't think that speaker's on. Yeah. Yeah.
It would have impacted the whole place shutting down, the high school music. And Victoria poured rain, got Stanley and his crew out and we took care of it. Here with any rain, all because of the rain, but I just wanted to thank you because we use that so much in the summer. I'm sure Victoria will evaluate what all they had to do. I don't know all that. Another thing, I just wanted to mention that we're having a lot of trouble getting our POs for the Recreation Commission, and it's just got to stop. We have a budget there that's in place for us to get our equipment, and we need to be able to do that. So please, please take care of that.
Tom Warner, and I'm from Amenia. I'd like to ask a question. Has anyone authorized anybody other than the town clerk to sign for correspondence?
To do what?
To sign for correspondence?
What do you mean by correspondence?
Letters.
Mail.
You mean received?
Mail.
Certified mail?
Stamp received? Oh, certified.
certified mail.
I see.
You normally sign for it?
He sent something to the town. And I've been having issues I'm not the one that's been receiving the mail.
Who gets the mail?
Sherry's been greeting the postmaster outside.
I don't know anything about it, so.
It's just happened this week. So he sent.
Was anybody here to get the mail?
Yes.
Who? You?
It was my office.
Okay.
I received a complaint today by Mr. Warner stating that.
Well, that's every day.
Stating that a certified he sent to the building wasn't signed by me, and he asked me how come. And I don't really have an answer how come. I didn't go out to greet the postmaster, when the lady comes up.
Well, I'm surprised that certified mail is even brought to the post office.
No, they bring it here, and she usually comes in. And I know we've discussed this in the past, but for the past couple of weeks, that process hasn't been happening.
Okay.
It just happened.
Did you talk to Sherry about it?
No, because I just got the complaint today,
All right.
about 2:30.
Is there an answer?
I would assume the town clerk does, but I don't know the law. I don't know what it is. We'd have to check and get back to you.
Under the law, the town clerk.
Well,
is-
whatever, we'll see.
I mean, you got your attorney.
It was addressed to the building inspector, but he sent an item to the building and it wasn't signed for.
Well, what,
It was signed for by another employee.
Well, but the letter got here though, right?
yeah.
It was given to John Fenton?
I have no idea. All
Well,
I
John
know-
Fenton's off today, so he's not here today, so he's back tomorrow. So, well, I think it went to John Fenton, I would assume it did.
I didn't see the letter, so I don't really know.
Well,
what-
all right.
I didn't know how to answer
We'll
that,
check
but
on it, Tom, we'll
Gretchen-
be in touch.
Okay, can it be
Gretchen has-
corrected?
Just,
What?
Can we assume it will be corrected?
Yeah.
yes. One thing, I did speak to Dawn Marie about this today, and because you can't say that someone will be in the town clerk's office specifically at the time the mail is delivered, what I recommended that she do, and I sent her a sample template, was just create a mail log. So when certified mail does come in, the person that is signing for it just accounts for it, and then when they pass it off to the town clerk's letter, it's accounted for there. That way we have an audit trail of when the mail does come in, and it's just, simpler that way. And then you don't have to worry about it. It can just be easily accounted for. What do you think about that?
That sounds like a fine policy. Because, like you said, there's no way that you can constantly be sure that somebody, the appointed person, is in the office the day the mail arrives. So if there's a mail log,
Well,
that
mail arrives
allows
every
other
day. Where
people.
was Patty today? Was he
Patty's off this week.
Right,
Off
but they
this
don't
week.
work
I was-
Fridays, so.
I was in the office. I've been in the office. I'm just not the first one to run outside. But Gretchen had suggested you do a log, and then that way whoever's getting the mail, they can just check them in.
Well, people still pick up the mail at the post office, for God's sake. It's still, which is illegal today. It's illegal. So at this point, we'll have to make
But that way, no matter what happens,
right.
you
The
can work on
courts pick
correcting
up the
that.
mail at the post office, which is still illegal. You can't do that.
Yeah, and you can work on correcting that, but in the interim, we'll still have that log of who's picking it up
Sure.
and
Perhaps
that
we
it's
meet,
accepted.
and then you can draft a letter and we can send it to all the employees.
Sure, I can draft a letter for that.
Okay, next.
Cheryl Morse, Town of Amenia resident. The first thing I'd like to make comment on is the way that Mr. Tubalevich was treated and how he found out about his summary dismissal. I think it's disgraceful the way it was handled and that he found out from a third party.
Actually, we don't discuss personnel matters in front of the planning board. If you
Well,
look at
you
the town board.
did
A
at
little
the
bit, yeah, we
meeting,
did.
and you disparaged him. So it was disgraceful the way the gentleman found out, and it's a poor representation of the townspeople. And it was very gracious of him not to file an Article 78 and to find another course. But even if he did file an Article 78, the way in which it was handled was inappropriate, and those kinds of matters should never be handled that way again. The second issue I want to discuss is about the wastewater issue. I've done some research because somebody brought to my attention that the Dutchess County Wastewater Authority is not a government agency. It is actually a public benefit corporation. And as such, I think we need to learn more about public benefit corporations before any decision is made on this wastewater project. I think there is some deception being involved in how this is being laid out, and I'm worried about how it's going to be presented to the town people, and I think they have a right to know before the project goes through, based on what I found. And I've gotten some information together, and I'm going to package it up and make it available to the board, because this is a serious issue. In 2011, New York State adopted a law to allow public benefit corporations. However, public benefit corporations come under the auspices of UN Agenda 21 that are being implemented incrementally, and they're not being presented above board and completely factually to citizens, and it affects private landowners, townspeople, regulations. In fact, public benefit corporations and authorities operate like quasi-private corporations with boards of directors appointed by elected officials. They share characteristics with government agencies, but they are exempt from many state and local regulations. So that raises some concern. Thirdly, I believe that there are particular individuals serving on committees and boards in this town based on information that I'm receiving that are using their positions to further their own interests and agendas. And as information comes to me and as time goes on and things come to light, I think the truth about that will be revealed and become very apparent. But it seems to me that given some of the things that are going on here in town, particularly that I've provided a letter to the planning board that none of the planning board members have received or seen, except for one member of the planning board that I personally delivered it to. I think it's inexcusable the way some things are being conducted here, and that the transparency that there should be in government and open meetings is not being held to the law and the way it should be conducted. So
Thank you.
something needs to change.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Kevin Cassone, Amenia. The flowers at the garden club planted in different gardens. Got cut down once, didn't make a big deal about it, you know, it was just, oh well, what happened? But we're now up to the 4th time. The last 2 times, our mowing contractor guy drove around that little memorial rock out there, even though it had 2 inches of mulch in it. It seemed to me to be a very clear planting bed area, and cut it all down. And then he decided to weed whack the little square garden in here, which we had 5 days of rain, and I was getting busy for planting day, so I wasn't able to weed it. But he cut down all the daylilies, and they were like $7.99 to $12.99, and I think we planted 15 to 20. It's now into hundreds of dollars. You know, I was patient. I reported I was patient the first time, the second, the third, 4 times, and you're going to get my ire up. So we're going to have free plantings and get those new ones from Iris Daylily Society. Either let me talk to this guy in a dark alley, or let's just, I don't know, get rid of him. I mean, Jeff Johnson used to do the church. When we did plantings there, Victoria, that day, he came up and asked me, he said, well, where did you put them? Where, you know, sometimes he'd leave weeds up rather than cuts down something good. But anyway, it's really accumulating. It's 4 times now. So, and then the mowing in Borden Park didn't get done, but I think you know about that. The guy who's doing the pruning didn't prune anything. He shaped. He recreated the snowball-shaped trees out here. Then I just had one question. I'm moving forward with Mike Pedersen in Smithfield Valley, and with the donations of highly discounted trees from Sam Bailey, and we're going to start planting them. So Sam and I are going to take care of Amenia. We're going to work with Mike Pedersen, who's going to do it for free in Smithfield Valley. So Darlene, if there's anybody you need to talk to on that committee, you said you'd get the tree out. Let's as soon as possible. Let's get that big maple out, and we'll give you another free one in replacement for the one right at that main corner in Smithfield Valley in front of the church.
Is that a maple tree? Is that a maple?
Yeah,
No,
it's a sugar maple.
It was a pine that was there, but it was, a maple is fine, the rest of the trees
Oh,
are
I'm
maple, so
sorry.
I don't know.
But you're happy with the sugar maple, right?
I'm happy with sugar maple.
Okay, we were going to put it across the street, and then you told me you lost a tree, so then we were going to move it to your side of the street. Then finally, because Sam and I were trying to figure out where to put these trees, the Main Street grant, it's gone through so many, the town park, it's gone through so many changes. Are we still going to be at least doing the trees through the Main Street grant that are on people's lawns, you know, that are back from the right-of-way? I know everything else is in flux, and I don't want to discuss that. I just need to focus on trees and planting. Are they still going to, will that money for those dozen or so, I think a dozen abrevieties here, and then maybe half a dozen trees along Main Street, the ones that are out of the right-of-way,
Yeah.
will that still happen through the Main Street grant? And if you can't answer it now, just get back to me so Sam and I can figure out.
Let's hope so.
Okay, because we won't do that if you're going to do that, but we don't want to.
Well,
leave all these
there's
empty.
paperwork, waivers involved, you know, I mean, it just can't happen overnight.
Well, because he's donating the labor, so I don't think we have any
No,
bidding issues.
waivers to
Okay.
get on people's property.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of getting everything in place.
Okay, I got a few. I already asked Delango for between Delango and M&T. It's his property. I've spoken to several people. I haven't gotten to all of them yet. So I just need an affirmative answer on that. If you could just keep me in the loop on that, and then And that's it. Vicki, you'll cover planting day later on. So what a great success it was. We had 11 people show up. We got everything planted, and we got nice comments from all the vets who thought the best comment was Herb Eschbach, who used to do it for decades. He said he thought we did a great job. So I just wanted to thank all those who showed up, because it was going to be Saturday, and we had 10 kids from Caledonia and 5 from Maplebrook and their chaperones who were going to come and be our volunteers. So, of course, that went out the window with all the rain we had Saturday, but 11 people showed up, including many on this board. And I just wanted to thank you all, because if we didn't have those 11, it would have been Vicki, Mark, me, Gretchen, and Anna Haydek, and it was all Anna Haydek's design. I want to thank Anna especially, and that's it.
Thank you, Kevin. I did call the lawnmower guy today, so I'm waiting for him to call me back.
Okay, thank you.
That's it for public comment. We have Paul Auerbach from Total Green LLC, who's going to give us a presentation. Obviously, you know that we have to install a new heating system in this building. The one we have is defunct. They do geothermal. They've been here a year ago. I think a year ago they were here and looked at the building. They've been here since. So I have asked them to make a presentation to the board so we are up to speed as to what can be done and what can't be done, and whatever questions the board has to ask, so we can start this process. So Paul from Total Green.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to make this presentation, and residents of Amenia, I'm hoping that you'll find this to be of great interest, not only for this fantastic building, but for yourselves personally.
Mike, can you see that? Okay.
I am a firm believer in brevity is next to godliness, so this will be short and sweet, but I am available for Q&A from both the board and from the residents. Personally, my name is Paul Auerbach, and I am a geothermal engineer certified with 4 major companies, as well as NYSERDA as a building analyst. This odyssey began over a year ago. I was invited by Darlene and Bill to review the building and see and review the materials that were prepared by CL, I believe it's CL Mail, who did a complete engineering study on the building. We reviewed that, and this presentation comes out of it. First, what is geothermal? Geothermal, it derived from the Greek, it means earth heat, and in reality, what is earth heat? How does the earth get heated? Basically, the sun heats the earth. In the wintertime, you put your hand on a macadam driveway, and of course it's warm because the sun is heating it. And where does that heat go? It actually goes into the ground, because this is all not magic. Heat goes to cold. It's the second law of thermodynamics. It's Fourier's law. So every time, for example, if you go outside in February and your hand gets cold, and you then come in and have a hot chocolate, the heat from the hot cup will go into your hand and warm your hand. Here, where we live in the Northeast, just 15 feet below the Earth's surface, it's 53 degrees approximately. Some places it's 51, some places it's 55, but the average is 53 degrees all the time. So that's why bears hibernate, because they go into caves, and it's warm in the cave in the middle of the winter. So this abundant, renewable, constant heat is called geothermal energy. There's more than one kind of technology to extract this heat from the ground and make it usable for buildings. There are water-based systems, and there's direct exchange. Direct exchange is a little bit more advanced. It's a newer technology. Total Green, my company, as well as myself, is certified in all geothermal technologies. So we pick the best for the particular application that we have. Geothermal is a mainstream technology. This is nothing that's brand new. It's literally 70 years old. Actually, it's more than that. It was invented in the 1840s. It's basically the refrigeration cycle. There are over 2 million geothermal systems in the United States. They're in schools, libraries, municipal buildings, homes, churches, office buildings, restaurants, supermarkets, any place you can think of. Here in this area, where we've done several geothermal installations in homes, one in Pine Plains, one in Milan. We're doing one now in Millerton. There are over 125,000 geothermal systems installed every year, and the Department of Energy says that geothermal is by far the most efficient space heating and cooling technology that's available today. This is the commercial part. This is about us. Our business is exclusive. We don't do anything other than geothermal. We have over 140 systems installed, and they're all successful. We are specialists in all kinds of geothermal, and we as a company administer all warranties, operations, and services. So should the town of Amenia choose to put a geothermal system by Total Green in this building, we will administer it, we will manage it, we will make sure that it works. More about us is that my people are trained, they're designers, they're engineers, they're skilled at integrating geothermal with heating systems. That's the whole concept here. Our earth tap installations basically are designed to extract the proper amount of energy that's needed for the building, and it's all designed by heat load calculations. Our technicians who will service this equipment, we have our own project managers, and we're certified in building operations and in building performance. We employ proprietary technology. We make sure that the systems are started up properly, and we guarantee optimum efficiencies. So if we tell you that the system is going to cost this much money to run, it will cost this much money to run. That's how this, and when you see the Amenia part of this, you'll see exactly what I mean. Our certifications are in both. This is just a reiteration that we do all kinds of geothermal. The applications are what I mentioned. Anything you can think of. Any building can use a geothermal system. It's excellent in new technology. New technologies where, in new construction is where geothermal shines, because instead of putting in a fossil fuel system, you'll be putting in a geothermal system. A retrofit like this building, for example, is a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated, but nothing that we haven't dealt with.
The right technology at the right time. DX Geothermal. Geothermal energy is a constant heat 15 feet below the Earth's surface. In the northeast, this temperature is approximately 53 degrees Fahrenheit all year round. The simple elegance of DX is that only one heat transfer is required, as opposed to water-based systems requiring multiple heat transfers. In fact, water-based systems require twice as much electricity. DX Geothermal requires minimal excavation and only 3-inch boreholes. Total Green systems use pure heavy water copper tubing, a superior heat conductor for the most efficient thermal transfer, at least 30% better performance than any other geothermal heating system. Delivering heat without a flame, cool without effort, hot water year-round. Total Green installs insulated copper piping for the compressor located in the home structure. The compressor distributes the refrigerant at a very low temperature. This liquid under pressure travels down through the copper tubing by gravity and picks up the geothermal energy from the ground, turning the liquid to a hot vapor. Pressure heats and forces the hot vapor up the return line into the compressor, delivering heat without a flame. And without another heating bill forever. Guaranteed environmentally responsible, economically compelling. Total Green summer cooling. The cooling cycle is the reverse of the heating process. The refrigerant passes through the copper cores in the air handler, but in the cooling cycle, the liquid draws heat from the home, sending it to the ground. The heat from the hot vapor flows into the ground. The vapor changes to a cold liquid and is delivered back to the home to continue the cooling cycle. The highly efficient Total Green system delivers cooling, heating, and hot water year-round without ever purchasing oil, gas, or propane again.
said it better than I can. But at the end of the day, what this all means is that a geothermal system not only does the heating for the structure, but it also does the cooling for the structure. And what's really important about that is that it does the cooling for the structure at half the cost of any central air conditioning system and about a quarter of the cost of the normal, the units that we have currently in this building, the wall units. So just as an example, 62% of all your building energy, this structure, is heating, cooling, and hot water. And geothermal heating and cooling versus oil, which is what you currently use here in the town of Amenia, 38 cents a square foot versus $1.45 per square foot. That's the cost ongoing from now on. And by the way, when we get to it, you'll see that we're talking about today's prices. We don't even know what oil is going to be next year, the year after, or the year after that. The geothermal operating costs, just to, as a quick note, it's 75% less than oil, 80% less than propane, and 40% less than natural gas. That's the ongoing cost of a geothermal system. The efficiency of our systems is 450%. What that means is every dollar in electricity that we put in to run our systems to generate the heat or the air conditioning, we get back $4.50 in heat or cooling. The best you can get from a boiler, the brand new boilers that you might consider buying for this building, will be 93%. Every dollar you put in, you'll only get back 93 cents. Look at the difference. In delivered cost, the way to really make a comparison is to look at the cost per million BTUs. By the way, this building uses 1.3 billion BTUs per year, based on how much oil you purchased every year. We know that because we know how much oil you bought. We also know how many BTUs are in a gallon of oil. We've extrapolated. That's how we come up with the numbers. Propane at $2.75 a gallon, with the appliance, the efficiency of the appliance being 90%, costs about $31.50 per million. Oil at $3.75, you folks paid your most expensive oil. Last year was $3.55. We expect that next year the projections are at least $3.75, possibly a little bit higher. At 85% efficiency, it will cost 29.20 cents per million BTUs. Geothermal at 10 cents a kilowatt hour, you folks are paying approximately 10.4 cents per kilowatt hour. It costs $7.40 per million BTUs. Now, a BTU doesn't care where it comes from. It doesn't care if it comes from a compressor. It doesn't care if it comes from a fossil fuel burning fire. That's not what we have. Our geothermal generates heating and air conditioning without any fire or without burning any fossil fuel, other than the fossil fuel required to make the electricity. And hopefully we're transitioning into more renewable ways to get our electricity. Here's the facts about the town hall. The annual heating bill for this building currently is $45,000. Cooling is $600. Mr. Flood's office was kind enough to give me the information about how much oil was purchased, and I reviewed the electric bills, and I made an extrapolation for the annual cooling, and the maintenance approximately $2,500, and we have a total running this building, heating and cooling, of about $48,000. Assuming you buy brand new fossil fuel, you have to buy a new boiler. Assuming that you buy a brand new fossil fuel system, based on its new efficiency, based on the fact that this town board did the right thing by putting foam insulation in the attic of the structure, making it much more efficient. The cost will be about $38,000 with the new equipment. Annual cooling, we're assuming that you're going to put in central air, because if you're going to put in ducting, you're going to put in central air. And the maintenance, same. The building will cost about $43,500, ongoing cost of operation to heat and cool the structure. Geothermal, on the other hand, will cost about $13,000 a year to run. That's exciting to me. So the current costs are $48,000. If it's a new fossil fuel system, it's $43,000. Geothermal is $13,000. Geothermal versus a new fossil fuel system will save the town $30,500 at today's cost. That's today's cost. We don't know where oil is going. It ain't going down. Per the CT mail report, to replace the boilers, that $250,000 is a number that's been told to me, but it might be less, it might be more, to replace the boilers. To install central air conditioning, according to CT mail, which is correct, is $230,000. The total cost to put in new fossil fuel and air conditioning in this structure will be approximately $480,000. With geothermal, obviously there's no boilers. You're putting in compressors and doing drilling in the ground. We're installing central air. That's part of geothermal. And the total cost of putting in a geothermal system in this structure is approximately $645,000. The difference in cost is $165,000. At $30,000 a year of saving, the payback is in less than 6 years. And after that, it's all profit for the town. The operational costs over 25 years, the fuel cost, assuming that you buy new boilers, will be approximately $1.1 million. The cost to install the new systems is $480,000. The total cost in 25 years will be $1,567,000 using fossil fuel. Now, two things happen with that. Number one, you're going to be burning over that 25 years literally tens of thousands of tons of oil. That tens of thousands of tons, every gallon that you burn of fossil fuel generates 22 pounds of carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas. You have uncontrolled market forces. We don't know what the price of oil is going to be, although we do know that if our history serves us correctly, we know it will go up quite a bit. And those of you who remember, let's say 10 years ago, remember that oil was about $1.25 a gallon. It's now over $3.50 a gallon. Going forward, over 25 years, if you put in a geothermal system, it will cost $957,000 run-in cost from the day that you put it in versus $1,500,000+ for fossil fuel. Your costs are controlled because it's using electricity. If they come up with a smart grid, the price of electricity will go down. Actually, there's even a possibility of negotiating better prices than you're even now paying. And Amenia saves a minimum of $610,000. That's assuming that the cost of oil stays what it is today. Geothermal uses zero oil. You burn no oil here. So there's a likely possibility that your insurance costs will be reduced because there's no possibility of anybody getting asphyxiated by a faulty fossil fuel heating system, nor for that matter is there the possibility of the fire from a geothermal system, because it's just like a refrigerator, and I don't remember the last time a refrigerator caught fire. So total geothermal heating and cooling will be 95,000 kilowatts. I made a mistake before. I said it was 10.4. It's 10.89 cents is what you pay. So the cost for all geothermal heating and cooling is approximately $10,350 per year. Geothermal will cap your energy costs. You have cost control because it's an electrical device. The mechanical system is upgraded. You'll have a better indoor environment. Geothermal is the most comfortable and the most healthy environment you could possibly have because it's a filtered air system, and we can make it very, very comfortable. In long term, the payback on your incremental costs are, I said within 5, it's actually within 6 years, and the town will have independence from domestic and foreign fossil fuels. There's no maintenance to a geothermal, I shouldn't say that. There's very little maintenance to a geothermal system. There's no user serviceable parts. There's nothing to blow up. The only thing that you have to do regularly, which we will be doing, which is part of our service, will be changing filters. That's what happens, change filters regularly so that the air is always being filtered. We have a lot more flexibility. Imagine, instead of having one boiler down there in the basement, we're going to have up to 15 boilers because they're going to be in various parts of the building because of the way the geothermal is configured. It's in small bites. We're going to be heating and cooling small areas of the building, and we can zone it very nicely. We have tremendous design flexibility. We have incredible system redundancy. If one of our geothermal systems should fail, unlikely, does happen. If one of the systems should fail, you have 14 others operating. The equipment longevity, meaning the outside equipment, we're going to be drilling holes in the ground, and you won't see them when we're done, is 50 to 200 years according to the Department of Energy. We know of at least hundreds of systems that are 25 or 30 years old that are purring along like Swiss watches. And again, stable energy costs. The advantages are, they're intangible advantages. There's a government green mandate. We're hearing that the state government and the federal government is demanding that schools and municipal buildings and other public spaces meet a green mandate. More energy efficient, and when we talk about energy efficient, geothermal needs to build. The local economy, should we do this project for the town, there will be jobs created, and we will be supporting business locally. We are a local company, by the way. We're not in this county, but we work quite a bit in this county. We believe that their influence to the residents would be very strong to have a building that's geothermal heated and cooled. We want community participation. I know Mr. Casson indicated that you have flower plantings and all of that, making the community look beautiful. And in my estimation personally, when I see a geothermal system and I don't see any oil being burned, that to me is beautiful. Community participation in renewable energy initiatives. There will be people who see it and say, I think that should be good for my house. My house, I'm building a new house, or my house, my heating system or cooling system is failing, or I'd like to add a cooling system. They might consider geothermal. In residential, this is an aside from the town, but in residential, every dollar that you save in energy costs, according to the National Association of Real Estate Appraisers, increases the value of the property by $20. So for example, like in my own home, I'm saving about $4,500 a year by not burning fossil fuel. I used to have an oil burner in my house, and now a geothermal system. That $4,500 times $20 a year, every year, is $90,000. And my home is valued higher than it would be with the fossil fuel system. And the nice thing about the state of New York, they are not allowed to tax the increased value of having a geothermal system in your home. Public perception, we want the public to, we all want to change the way things are being done and do it more efficiently. Geothermal systems are the most cost-effective and most efficient that you can buy. They're much more comfortable than even what we have here today. In case there was radiant in this building, it works perfectly with radiant, and it's the lowest overall cost of all heating and cooling systems on the planet. It's safer. No one is going to die from carbon monoxide asphyxiation. It removes the combustion appliances that's in this building, and hot water heaters are a thing of the past because our systems will generate all the hot water we need in this building. It's healthier. We can adapt it to MERV filtration. There are certain parts of the building, I know, that might benefit by that. We reduce global warming. I don't want to call it global warming. Let's call it climate change. Just by virtue of not burning 12,000 gallons of oil a year, you're making a big contribution to eliminating climate change. Geothermal is environmentally responsible and economically compelling. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Any questions?
I have a question.
The question is, what's the cost for a
Sure. Here you
three-bedroom
go.
home?
Give me the-
Microphone and ask
Go to the
questions.
microphone, please, so we can hear you.
Not you.
Not you,
Person
them.
that was asking.
The public can't hear the questions.
What's the estimated cost for, say, a three-bedroom home?
There are certain variables. How many square feet is it? Because we work by square feet, not by bedrooms. But I'll estimate that a three-bedroom home would be about 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. Is that about right? Okay. A 1,500 square foot home, it depends if it has ducting or it doesn't. If it has ducting, that reduces the cost. But typically, a home like that depends on how it's insulated, because we look at it. We want to insulate the building. One of the benefits, by the way, of Amenia is the fact that they made the commitment and they went ahead and insulated the attic. 30% of the heat loss is in the attic. So if the home is insulated properly, typically it might be $30,000, but then the federal government is going to give you back in cash 30% as a tax credit. So it does pay to retrofit your house. I mean, especially if that three-bedroom home, I would estimate that that three-bedroom home costs you at least $3,000 a year in oil if you're using oil. Less. More. Less. So you keep the thermostat at 65. Very frugal. These systems are designed for 70 degrees. I believe in comfort, but a lot of people tell me, well, my house doesn't really use that much oil. They don't tell me about the wood-burning fireplace, the wood-burning stove that they have, or the fact that they keep their thermostat at 64. So all things considered, if you want a system that is lower capacity, can be done, and it might be as little as $20,000, still with the federal government giving you back 30%. And the idea is a geothermal system in your house, what you're telling me, costs $750 a year for heating, air conditioning, and hot water. I assume that less than $3,000, maybe $2,200. So if you look at the numbers, it's typically, if you use oil, it costs 3 to 4 times as much as using a geothermal system. And that's where the spread comes in, and that's where the payback comes in. Typically, in a retrofit, we see returns around 8 years. New construction, 5 years or less. In this particular case in Amenia, it's about 6 years, based on the amount of oil you use. Anybody else have a question? Sir?
Okay. I just I'll save you coming back. This 25-year projection that you're using, will it pay for itself in 25 years? And do you guarantee it for 25 years?
We guarantee the systems for 25 years, and we also guarantee that the payback, based on the numbers that I've been given, the payback in this particular structure is 6 years or less. 6 years over putting in a fossil fuel system, which you have to put in.
Based on a residential system, how much property would you need minimum to put in a system like this for a residential property, say?
The question is, how much land do we need? Very little. Depending on the size of the home, we typically, a small home under 2,000 square feet requires 1 7-foot circle. That's it. That could be in the front yard, could be under a driveway, it could be, it's anywhere next to the house. It's obviously not going to be near a septic system or a well, but we deal with that. But we've put these things under patios, we put them under parking lots. Matter of fact, some of you go to Poughkeepsie. There's a building in Poughkeepsie that we have put geothermal in on Washington Street, right across the street from the Palace. Diner down the street from Vassar Hospital. It's a medical arts building. It's about 16 or 17,000 square feet, and it runs for about $4,000 a year using geothermal, and it's only geothermal, 100%. Any other questions?
What was that term you used at the very end, that merged term? Did that refer to the pipes?
MIRV. MIRV stands for, that's how the industry determines the restrictiveness of the filtration, how much you want to remove from the air. So, for example, if you want to remove bacteria, theoretically, you use a higher MERV filter. Some people have allergies, and it's the way to eliminate allergies in your indoor environment.
So they go down to the micron scale.
Get down to the microns.
So payback over the burner would have to buy otherwise. So I understand that is 6 years. What's the total payback? What's just forgetting comparing it to oil and the fact that we have to buy a boiler? Say we had a fine boiler, we're just being altruistic and we were putting your system in. And then secondly, do you finance?
There are banks who are very willing to come to the table to finance this project for the town. That's number one. And number two, if you didn't have to do anything and you were completely taking out, you were just completely retrofitting this structure. I still have to add ducting. You get air conditioning. That has a certain value. Typically, that would be about 10 to 13 years if you didn't have to do anything. Assuming that there was no boiler to be put in, assuming that we will save $30,000 a year. The cost of putting in a system is $600,000 a year. There's definitely a $230,000 benefit from making central air in the structure. That has to be factored in. You take that all together, and I'm looking probably at a 10 to 13 year payback. That's assuming you didn't have to put any boilers in. You do have to put boilers in this structure, and I think that's part of the reason that I'm here, is you have to make a choice.
Yes.
And that choice to me, and it's, like I said, this odyssey began last year and a half ago. That choice to me is, there's no choice. With a 6-year payback or even a 10-year payback, system's going to last for 25 years, you're going to be saving money. I seriously doubt whether the cost of oil is going to stay at $3.75 a gallon. It's going to go God knows.
How many circles, as you call them, would a building this size require?
Actually, this structure is designed a little bit differently than the design that I have for that particular design that I showed. This is going to be 300-foot holes. There will be 13 of them. 13 300-foot holes built literally around the building, wherever we can find space to put them. And once we finish, everything is underground. It's 3 feet underground. All of the holes are tied together. There's pipes in the holes. That's how it's designed. And those pipes basically are tied together, and then we punch through the foundation and we locate our heat pumps in various parts of the building. I have not gotten that far to actually engineer exactly how it's going to look and where. What I've done is engineered it for price, engineered it for the ability that we have the ability to drill where we have to drill, and we have the ability, we know pretty much what the cost is going to be, what kind of costs we're going to offset, because I basically took the actual amount of oil that you buy and I designed the system around that.
What type of liquid do you fill the copper tubes with?
The copper tubes are filled with R407C refrigerant or R410A.
Are they single thickness tubing, or is it like a
This is-
double hull
this
kind
is-
of thing?
This is thick, heavy-walled copper tubing
So
designed
single?
to last for as long as the Greek water system lasts. It will last.
So it's single thickness though?
Yeah, but these are designed, well, they have to be single thickness only so that heat passes properly. We want to pass as much heat as we can. But these are very strong. We warranty them for 25 years. So anything goes wrong, it's our problem, not yours.
And how long has your business been?
We've been in business since 2008.
2008?
Yes, we're going to be here for the
You'll be here for 25 years?
Personally, I'm hoping.
Okay.
I do have a question about NYSERDA grants, and I assume that the numbers that you've given us take advantage of the opportunities that NYSERDA provides. And you said that you're certified with NYSERDA. Do you handle all of the that process of qualifying and applying for NYSERDA incentives and grants?
NYSERDA does not give a grant for geothermal. We've researched it inside and out, upside down, 6 ways from Sunday. We can't get any kind of grants. This is it. If there are grants available, we can get them. We've been trying to get grants for firehouses. I'm trying to get grants for schools. NYSERDA has no program for us.
Are there state rebates or federal rebates in effect?
None, but there are. Let's talk for a moment about how this might be structured. There are ways to structure this that a third party can own the.
Right.
I'm not qualified as an attorney. You have an attorney here who will, certainly look into that. But there are ways to think about it. Creating your own utility. See, there's a separate. You could create a utility company, meaning a geothermal utility that basically owns that infrastructure, supplies heating to the building, and there's some sort of cost paid. That has been done. We've seen it. It's almost like what they call power purchase agreements in the solar business. In solar, they'll put up all sorts of solar panels for no cost, theoretically, or some cost, and then you have a contract with them to buy the electricity from them for the next 20 or 25 years. That could be done here. I'm not structuring that. I'm here to design and install. But I would help with that. We have resources in that area.
What would be the advantage of having a separate entity own the infrastructure?
They would be able to take tax credits, and they would then be able to they would be able to save money by certain tax credits and certain incentives. They take the advantage. Theoretically, that would be passed on to the town.
So they can sell the electricity at or below the current cost. So you enter an agreement that says we're going to produce solar powered electricity for you, but we're not going to exceed X price. So you're going to survive, hopefully weather.
That's in solar. Now,
right.
What we're talking about is providing you with heating and air conditioning. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of end result. We're supplying that entity would supply you with the heating to this building and the air conditioning to this building at some sort of a set price.
But if we do the solar, that would offset the electric cost.
It would offset it somewhat, absolutely.
Right.
But remember, solar is grid tied. You're not. Geothermal, you own it. I don't want to say you own it, but geothermal is your own private entity. You don't buy anything other than electricity to run the system. Right. You want to offset, you want to put 10 kilowatts or 100 kilowatts or 1 million kilowatts up there to offset the cost of your electricity, that's fine. Just remember, the utility companies do not give you all that much benefit. What they do is they buy it at wholesale, sell it to you at retail. It's a fairly complicated, those power purchase agreements are fairly complicated. The energy delivery agreement that we're talking about here is much less complicated in the sense that it's the heat. We'll heat the building. How much does this building need? We know already how much it needs. We know how much you buy. We can easily calculate. But that's something for future discussion. First order of business is something that the town wants to consider.
Paul, what are the proprietary elements that you talk about? It would be something that only your company could take care of?
Not at all. Any good refrigeration specialist can work on our systems. Make believe it's a refrigerator that works in 2 directions. We extract heat, just like you do in your refrigerator. In the summertime, you're extracting heat from the building and you're parking it in the ground. So instead of moving energy 8,000 miles, you're moving it 150 feet. On the other side of the coin, in the wintertime when you need heat, you're extracting the heat from the ground, or as much as you need, and exhausting it in the building. So that's pretty much how it works as far as the energy that you're using.
The $10,000 a year to maintain it, or whatever, changing the filters.
Actually, that's an older presentation that I sent to Bill before I really pulls it apart and got it together. It's about $2,500 a year to service our equipment.
Okay. Is it
And you
something that,
No,
say, our
service.
local,
Your local guys can do it.
yeah, our
Absolutely.
building maintenance person?
Building maintenance should be able to do that with.
And do they
no
have to,
problem.
do they have to purchase filters through your company
No.
where they're readily available?
Most of our, let me say what's off the shelf and what's not off the shelf.
Mhm.
What's off the shelf is the air handlers, the blowers, and the piping and all the other stuff that goes with it. The only proprietary components are the heat pumps, which anybody can work on. Any good refrigeration specialist should totally not be here, although we will be. And of course, we drill holes in the ground and we install piping in the ground. That's a proprietary methodology. That's
Mhm.
all. Otherwise, it's off-the-shelf stuff. And you can buy the gloves. or
American
all
parts?
American. Every component in the Total Green System is manufactured either in Lakeland, Florida, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or Reading, Pennsylvania, made here. And the air handlers that we choose to buy are from America. We typically like Train commercial, and they're made in Indiana.
How many air handlers would you anticipate we would need?
Between 10 and 15 in this structure.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. We could do it with 4. We've actually...
Four
we've actually
larger
done
ones?
4 larger ones. We're trying to avoid putting stuff on the roof,
Yeah.
because then you're getting into structural issues. I want to put my heat pumps are 20 by 24 by 27 inches. They're this big. They're little tiny things. And they go any place you can think of. They're quieter than a mouse. And they last literally forever. Remember, there's no condensers outside. If you put central air, which is on the table, so to speak, if you put central air in this building, there would be 10 outside, 10 of those condensers. They will die in 7 to 10 years because they're outdoors, subject to vandals, subject to Hurricane Sandy, subject to God only knows what. Whereas our system does not require a condenser. The condenser is the copper piping in the ground. The heat pumps are lodged somewhere in the structure. We will find a nice place to put all our heat pumps, and the heat pumps connect. Sounds like a song. The heat pumps will connect to the air handlers, and the air handlers can be any place. They can be up in the attic, they can be above. We know that we have 14 offices. We want to heat and cool them properly, so we will design it for each individual space. You as an architect know we're going to do a manual J, manual N, manual D. We're going to design everything perfectly. It's going to heat this place. It's going to make this structure as comfortable as can be.
With respect to the copper piping, now that goes in the ground, can that be affected by either groundwater level, like high table groundwater, or minerals in the soil over time, as far as corrosion?
Well, let's put it this way. We protect our copper with cathodic protection, like they do on boats. But I'll take it another step. Almost every municipal water system in the United States, and I would be willing to bet if there's a municipal water system here, let's say for down on Main Street, there is a cast iron main in the street, made out of cast iron, and from the street to every house or every structure, there's a 2-inch copper pipe. Hasn't blown up yet. It's been there for 100 years. Some of them have been there 200 years. So the copper pipes, the only time that copper is affected, I have lots and lots of white papers on this, the only time that copper is affected by either the water table or mineralization in the soil is if we have 5.0 or less pH. We are on a limestone plateau here where we live. It is all beautiful and about 6.8 pH. So, but we protect it anyway. So that's why I can afford to offer a long warranty.
The ductwork, we've been told, is usable throughout this building. Is that something that you would look at?
We looked at the ductwork. Much of the ductwork is not usable for not only for geothermal, but not usable in many respects. If there is any ductwork, when we come in to do our full-blown engineering, if there's any ducting, we want to use it. But typically it's not sized properly for the way that we're going to duct this building. Remember, we're ducting for various components of the building, and that means individual ductwork is in various places. Any other questions?
Yes, one more, if you don't mind. What's the electrical consumption?
95, in this building, 95,000 kilowatts a year is the,
The reason I'm asking is we're gonna put a generator in. We don't need to use computers in a time of emergency, but you'd like to have it warm or cool, whichever you might be, and have this be a center
part
for
of
people to come. If we can put in a small enough generator to make it possible.
Well, it's not small.
Well, I want to talk about the generator, and I want to talk about the electrical consumption. In the proposal that I developed for this structure, I also included a backup boiler. The backup boiler is going to be used in the event that there is a power failure, and you don't want a generator the size of Montana to have to run this building, because running a geothermal system is like running an air conditioning system. You don't want to run a full-blown geothermal system with a generator. What you want to do is you want to run a backup boiler, which has a very small consumption because it's using propane, and it circulates water. It heats water. The water goes into the air handlers. Air handlers have a very small electrical consumption, and your generator can be just a normal-sized generator that you would use for a building of this nature. And you will have plenty of heat. You may not have heat in every single area because we would only want to put in, let's say, a 400,000 BTU unit, whereas this building is about a 700,000 BTU per hour requirement. So we only want to heat parts of the building, which would be handled by engineering between the town and our company and my engineers. We would design it in such a way so that, okay, if there's going to be a power failure and we're operating on backup heat, that would heat certain sections of the building as required by the board. Or I'm thinking that here's a place to come in the event of a natural disaster or some form of a real emergency. People would come from their homes to come here. So we've thought of that in advance already.
But that's not factored in. That's not priced in.
Well, that's why you're here.
No,
We need to use the
water
in places that you can have people sleep on the floor neat, but we haven't had those situations.
And that's been, and that was taken into consideration when we made our, when we ripped apart when we ripped apart this report, that's what we came up with. And we think that we've covered everything, but you don't have every single thing. There are certain things that the board may want, that the residents may want. Whatever has to be put in, where we can cover it very, very easily. But the basics are covered here.
I noticed in your proposal, you said the 400 amps service was not suitable. We have to.
We believe that there would have to be another 200 amps, but that is you have a 3-pole system, which is a pretty powerful system. And my engineers said that we should cover it. It's a possibility that we don't have enough amperage, but again, full engineering will tell us the true story. Because we're expecting, we have to run the whole building. Our system design is, in the event that it's February, and this building completely has to be heated, we want to be sure there's sufficient energy to run every single unit in the building.
But we would have zones, we could choose which.
Of course, absolutely. It's even conceivable that you would need to upgrade as long as you know that I can't have the entire building operating at one time. We could do that. I don't think that's a great idea, but that's something certainly to discuss.
But we can, once this is in, Paul, from my understanding, you can control it by computer or whatever.
It will be, yes.
So if we have a function, the build one in, like the gym would be warm, this building would be warm if we had a meeting, the auditorium could be warm if they had a show, and then we could shut them down.
Absolutely.
And not use any power.
True, but what you do...
To a certain degree.
To a certain degree. What you do is you keep the building since geothermal is so inexpensive to run, you keep the building, let's say for example it's 60 degrees. Even though it's, 10 outside, 60 degrees, it costs nothing to do that. It's when you have people coming in, you will have web access to your building automation. So you can actually run various zones, you can play with it, and you can do a lot of things. You can know that there's going to be a meeting in this room on, Thursday nights, comes on an hour before it's normally does the meeting. Can be done 100 times.
I was quite impressed. Bill and I went to the place you're doing in Millerton, and, I was expecting wells, but the diameter of that pipe is so small.
Yes.
And then they all came together to like its own manifold.
Correct.
I think there were 8.
There were
Eight coming.
eight copper, eight
Right, coming
3 1/4 inch, eight
Yeah.
3 1/4 inch holes. We
Yeah.
designed differently for various applications.
Uh-huh.
That was the application that fits perfectly on Parson Road. Here I have a little bit differently. I have a 5-inch hole. It's still fairly small. 5-inch hole, 300 feet. I'm going to put in my infrastructure into that hole and going to grout it up. And I'm going to manifold it together. It's going to be underground. So it comes from the building. You won't see it. It will be just out of the grass.
Yeah, that's quite impressive.
How long?
To do, I would say this is probably a 90-day job to do it.
Start to finish, 90 days?
Wow.
One other quick question. Since you have to dig down 300 feet, what happens if you hit a lot of ledge bedrock?
Rock is good for geothermal because rock is a thermal mass. It holds heat very nicely. Water is good for geothermal. So whatever we find, typically down underground, is good for us. We like rock, we like water.
Okay.
So if we find it, it's great.
And there's no difference in price if they, if they do hit rock with the wells, that's all done, that's all.
Cost of drilling is the cost of drilling. I'm going to get those holes in. That's all I have to worry about. I've computed the cost for drilling with the appropriate amount of casing. We've done business in this area. We know pretty much what our subterranean substrate is. We do want to see your. We want to see the surveys. We want to see what. When they built this building, we want to see what they, I don't want to run into a landfill, is what I mean. Typically what happens is in a farming community, for example, you will drill next to the house and you'll be drilling into refrigerators and God knows what, only because that's where they dump things. So we'd like to know if we would run into any of that around here. We don't want that. We have plenty of places to drill here. So it's not like we have to worry, it's just a matter of.
And how many wells?
We'll be drilling 13 wells, 300 feet deep.
And that's in how many, 3, did you say?
No, each individual is going to be 13 holes. Each one is going to be 5 inches in diameter.
But how many,
Oh, no, it's not going to be in a circumference like that,
okay.
straight down.
Okay.
We're doing, in this building, we would be doing vertical drilling.
But and they'd all be connected into one manifold?
They'd all be connected, actually they'd be connected in various manifolds, depending on how we zone the building, is how we're going to handle the manifold. So, for example, one hole is a 5-ton hole. That's 5 tons means 60,000 BTUs per hour will come out of that hole. So that particular 5 tons, we might allocate to 2 offices upstairs. So we're going to determine, once we engineer the building, we'll determine where all of our various manifolds are going to be going, and we're going to end up with our heat pumps inside the building somewhere near where those holes are.
All the holes in the building are penetrated below ground?
Below ground.
Even though it's on the second floor?
Doesn't matter. And the heat pumps are going to be in the lower portion of the building likely. I've been through the building. I know where it could conceivably go. But 3 feet under grade is what we like. We penetrate the foundation. We seal the foundation. We're penetrating the foundation with just a couple of copper pipes. That connects up to the heat pump. From the heat pump, we connect to your air handler. They're split systems. That means the heat pump can be here, the air handler can be there. Makes no difference.
But like the gym, you would hang it from inside?
Um,
The auditorium could be in the attic?
Yeah, that would definitely.
There is one there, there is an air handler
We
there.
think it would be in the attic, and what we thought for the auditorium is we thought that we would use, depending on how your use plan is, but we could do exposed ducting. We could do nice, really nice looking exposed ducting in the auditorium, or it could be in the attic. There is
ducting in there, there is ductwork there.
We'll find
If you look at the front of the,
We found it last year. We found
right.
some great ducting.
also, when the school was here, there's a fresh air system in the attic. There's also with a 6x6 hole in the roof.
We saw the fresh air system. The fresh air system is into the Smithsonian. That's where it should go. It's not really new.
Would that come out?
It would come out.
So we could,
There'd still be a fresh air system. As part of this project, there's a fresh air system. We have to bring in outside air. We do what's called heat recovery ventilation. That means when we bring in outside air in February, we bring it in at 20, we expel air, it exchanges the heat, so the air comes in at about 60, and it goes out, at 20. So whatever we exchange is heat exchange, goes out, but when it comes in warm. Very warm. You don't want to bring cold air into your building. Any other
So
questions?
with these, sorry, just sort of nail it down,
Sure.
kind of flush it out. So we're basically, these 13 holes would almost be dispersed around the building.
That's
We're going to
exactly right.
associate heat exchangers somewhere down in the basement,
Correct.
but the air exchangers can then you run like insulated pipes, and they can be wherever, they're close to the source
To
of
the place,
use.
to the source of use, that's exactly right. We
Okay.
will put the heat pumps where they're most likely to go to be out of the way. We'll put the air handlers where they should go, and we'll deliver heating and cooling to the space that needs heating and cooling.
How much did we describe the copper? Is it like K-type? What's the actual,
It's actually L grade copper.
Okay.
If you're a plumbing guy, you know that L grade is refrigeration grade copper. That's what we use.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
thank you, Paul.
Yes, thank you very much.
Town clerk's report.
Just before you do that, Peter Cascone walked in late, and I wondered if, you had a public comment or not? Because then we can move on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very simply, not to take up too much of your time, not too long ago, I was here asking about, first of all, thank you for letting me, helping me, and allowing me to create a music hall such as it is. We're about to have our second performance Saturday night, and I came to invite you all to come and urge others to, as a community act of support for the hall. And you can buy tickets online. I guess you all know where the website is. When I was putting up the sandwich boards in the heavy gale, one flew up and hit me on the side of the head, and I said, "Is that a sign?" It was, in fact, it was a sign.
Could you let people
and
know
I
the
took it.
time?
But anyway, seriously, I just want to urge you to come. It's going to be a great show. And
What's the time?
The show starts at 7. The doors open at 6. The show starts at 7. It goes till midnight. We have 3 acts in the hall, which are starts off with an electric guitar display of virtuosity by Johnny G, who runs the Music Cellar in Millerton, and then followed by a troubadour, Shane Lavero, who's sort of in the folk singing and rock style, presenting original songs. And then we have a band that's very exciting called Crossroads, which plays a lot around here and plays some originals and familiar tunes, but is a 5-piece blues rock and roll band, which I think you will enjoy. The way you like the Mama Tried, it's sort of the same kind of progression I wanted to plan. And then instead of having the alternative bands in the gym like we did last time, which was a way for everybody to hear music they might not otherwise hear, this time I've got for a dance party, I've got a band that plays familiar tunes, but with a singer, and called The Vibe. And hopefully people will stay after the concert, because I figure once you have a crowd, you might as well keep them around, because everybody came out, and for your $20 you get to see a concert and go to a dance party. And I thought that's a nice value for your dollar. And it seems to be, we learn a lot each time. This is the second time we're doing it. We learn a lot. And I came to ask if you had any questions and invite you, and that's basically it.
Looking
and
forward to
promote
going.
the show.
Yeah, great.
See you Saturday night.
Saturday night. I hope you've seen the signs around town, even though they blew down once. And we're still evolving the logo. We don't envision a multicolor music staff up at the top there. That was the art director's idea. But Darlene told me that somebody donated a weather vane.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So we're thinking that maybe a G-clef, and I would certainly, a G-clef weather vane might be fun, but, I'd show you a drawing and all that stuff if you wanted to do that. But, we're trying to evolve a logo and a look, and it's hard because we are really an ad hoc operation. I have a lot of people helping me, but, it's a lot to put together a show like that and do all the promotion and everything. So if the signs fall down and they blow away, we're trying the best we can. So, urge your friends and family. We've also offered 40 tickets to Amenia's Heroes. Just, fire department, EMS. If they reserve tickets online, they come to the show free. And certainly, let me know if you want to be a guest. And I think you'll have a good time. Everybody seemed to enjoy the last show, and hopefully this will be the same kind of an event. And I think there will be more people around this time. So, and it will be air conditioned, though, right?
We won't be air conditioned by then.
Well, I also wanted to say that all the musicians, first of all, I'm being deluged with requests from musicians to perform, because I think there's something magic about playing in a hall as opposed to a club or a restaurant or anything like that. There's something about it being a hall that seems grander than the other kinds of venues, and they're very excited about it. I mean, they literally rehearsing special stuff. This is a big deal. So we're creating a buzz in the musician community as well. And hopefully some celebrities will show up at some point.
You're going to have T-shirts again?
I'm sorry?
T-shirts?
Oh, definitely. In fact, get them right away when you come in, because they're going fast. I didn't wear one tonight because I came from work, but anyway, T-shirts are based on a photograph taken when we first started out by Lana Kelly, made into a T-shirt. And all the photographs you see on the posters and everything are part of the house team. Bill Prickett has become a great resource, and we're going to shoot a video of the show like we did last time. In fact, if you come to the show, know that we will be shooting a video. Well, we'll put up signs too. But there's a lot that I think that has already happened in terms of building this, and I think that as long as we each time make people allow people to have a good time, I think that it'll continue being a success. And I think the obvious improvement, the hall got painted. I don't know if that had anything. I think that there's also a possibility of the activity of this music concert program attracting grants and things like that. It's something showing that there's activity and grassroots effort at work here, which probably helps those kinds of things. I'm not an expert on grants, but just with a few more improvements, the acoustics, everything, it's not a difficult room to improve. And in fact, all the spotlights are lit up now. That's what the last show we were able to light up all the spotlights, so that we have color lights down onto the stage.
Because all the extra money you raise goes back into that room. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the idea. That's why it's a benefit concert, and that's a good idea, and it can only it'll get better and better. There's so many more improvements that could be made, but it works as a venue. I mean, we did a show there, it worked, so that was what we learned from that, and now it can only get better. And I urge you to come. And I hope, we were also planning, and I haven't officially asked for it yet, so maybe I can do it in this venue, but we're thinking of a show on July 27th as the next one. And we are looking, we're having creative meetings, and we're thinking about a comedy show in October, because there's a lot of other things going on, Oktoberfests and balls and masquerade parties, so we thought we would have a comedy show just as sort of a counterpoint. And we're talking to like a guy that comes in and does the whole show, that sort of thing. So there is a plan actually underneath the haphazardness, and we're still attracting a lot of interest. Also, I think that at some point somebody will donate a piano. That would be, and then we could start having classical players, because apparently they don't come unless you have a really good piano. So that's what I was told. And love to have classical, and also I would like to have an amateur night. We talked about that. That's a little more harder to organize, because it's different than picking up the phone and hiring people. Professional bands, they show up, they do the gig. So, but I would like to do that, because I realize that that'll be an inspiration for kids to think of, someday performing at the music hall like that. And as far as the dance party goes, I think there's really nowhere around here, that I can think of that's really accessible. And dancing is not what it once was in terms of what people want, how they want to dance. But that's the idea. This will be just like a fun party kind of thing. And a nice way to end the evening, I guess. And then go to Bill's restaurant.
Can you give us a sense of what era the music will be played from for the people who are interested in attending the dance party?
A broad range of, these guys specialize in playing standards from a lot of different eras. You'd hear everything from the Rolling Stones to, earlier bands and later bands, Green Day. I mean, I reviewed them for how I felt about it. Would I, enjoy their, would I enjoy the act? And it seemed to me that that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Stuff that I know, but somebody singing it, and a small band, so it's not like definite.
That's good.
The only thing about the gym is that it really doesn't have any kind of a space where you want to. So, one of the things maybe in the future is we could get a portable dance floor, and that would be, so like you go over there to dance rather than where do I dance, because it's a big open space.
Area.
You know what I mean? So that's what you can sort of put tables and create that, but it's not the same. So, there's always another thing that could be embellished here, and that would be good for a lot of things to have a dance floor. We could have big bands also, there's all kinds of Dixieland bands, There's a lot of music around. Right now I'm concentrating on what I know best, which is rock and roll. But certainly I plan to have many different genres, but I think we need to be a little bit more established before we try that. And I understand that there's a shed, an outdoor shed in the works?
Possible.
Because a lot of people, the musicians, have talked about playing outdoors in the summer, and especially things like Dixieland bands are great outdoors.
Sure.
Like that.
And we do have some local promoters that you met at the restaurant the other day that are looking to do some other stuff here too also. In fact, I'll add to it today, this afternoon. Last week I met with 2 movie producers from Columbia University who are going to film a movie here. I met with them again today. They showed up again today, and I believe that they're going to be at the Hilltopper B&B to film part of it there, but they're looking for some other buildings to film for this movie also, and they're coming back on Saturday to look at some other buildings. So they've committed to film at the end of June. So if anybody has some rooms, they have about somewhere between 15 and 20 people that will be here to film. So they're looking for, and they're students from Columbia. So some of them are also union photographers or whatever they are, that are going to need some room. So if anybody wants to give Mary a call upstairs, if you have a room available at the end of the month, they could fill it. So it's a good thing. It's an exciting thing to film a movie.
We could also promote the town as a location.
Sure, absolutely.
You and I discussed that, and because there's really a lot of great vistas and unique buildings around here, and the auditorium itself is like a classic room.
Well, they promised me also that they would screen the movie here.
They would screen a movie? Screen the movie here?
They would screen the movie.
Oh, that's
here.
great, yeah.
So that's a good thing. So.
Well, the use of it as a movie theater is a whole other discussion. I mean,
right.
There's a projection room there that's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing in it, but you know,
right.
it's really just right.
We have a donation of a screen though, 13-foot screen.
Okay.
So that's coming.
One of the maybe this is too small a matter to deal with here, but there's a fire warning in the back wall there that has to be, because if you put a screen in front of it, you can't see the fire warning. So
we'll deal with that.
You know, but I don't know, when I put the screen in front of it, I said, uh-oh, but I think it's okay that it's there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Town clerk's report.
Good evening. The town clerk's office has collected 91% of the taxes. The final reminder notices were mailed out on May 15th. So since this is our last meeting of the month, I'd like to remind you that as long as your payments are postmarked by May 31st, you are all set. After that, you'll have to send your payments to the Commissioner of Finance to 22 Market Street in Poughkeepsie. On Tuesday, June 11th in Albany, there's a tax seminar that is being offered by the New York State Tax Receivers and Collectors. I'm looking for the okay that Patty and I take this class. I just want to do the one-day commuter. The registration fee is $90. The one day is $50. Rather than going up for the 4 days, I didn't think the classes, I needed all those classes, and it was beyond what I know what I need. So I would like to go up on Tuesday, June 11th. They talk about TSOs, the lockbox problems, how to handle over and under payments, turntable, what the town auditors and state auditors look for this time dealing with taxes, hot buttons, top 10 personnel, essentials in controlling employee fraud, theft, and waste abuse. And they're done by the president of HR companies. And it would be a good opportunity for me to go out and meet some of the tax collectors. I have $800 in the training line that I did not use. So I don't know if I have to actually get the approval to do that, or...
When is it?
June 11th. I don't know
I'll make
what...
a motion to authorize the use of the $90 for the training.
Second it.
All in favor? There's a roll call for $90.
Well, it's $90 for the registration fee, and then for a commuter, it's $50.
Right, whatever.
So it's 1 4. I mean, it's going to be less than half of that.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to take Patty. Is that okay?
Yes.
Councilwoman Raymond, Councilman Brody,
Yes.
Councilman Berger,
Yes.
Councilman Doyle, and Supervisor Floyd.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Just like to remind everyone that the no burn period has passed, but to remind everyone to burn safely. So take those standard precautions, including having your water source out there, your hose. Farmers have their tractors out there. We can have our rakes out there. Always remember to man the fires at all times. I presented to the board the draft minutes for March 28th, April 11th, April 25th, and April 29th, if we can talk about that. I don't know if you want to do it now or later for the approval of minutes. I know I spoke with Darlene and Gretchen today. Also, I received a resignation from ZBA member David Rosenberger. I do know that we are scheduled for our next meeting on June 13th to conduct an interview for one of the applications I had received thus far. And the other thing I'm looking for this night from the board is to approve the corporate authorization resolution that we talked about last month that everyone just had to sign, but it just has to be done, stated in the minutes so I can put today's date on it. So I don't know if it's by motion or a motion to accept the corporate authorization resolution.
Yeah, that's fine. That, it's prepared as in the form of a resolution, correct?
Yes, but I don't know what they would read. Just the top part?
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to read anything, but just
What is that
introduce
for?
it as a...
The Bank of Millbrook, we discussed it last month. I just put in everyone's names.
Signers.
The signers. It's going to be Supervisor Flag Deputy, Supervisor Victoria, myself, and Patty. Everything's the exact same from 2006. It just has to go in the minutes so I can sign it and date
She's
it today.
updated it.
Yeah, that's fine. You can give it a resolution number so you know what, and then,
It'll be resolution number 28. If someone just wants to make a motion to accept it.
I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution number 28 of 2013, corporate authorization resolution, providing the signers on the town's accounts.
I need a second.
Yes. Second.
Yes. Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
And that's it. Thank you, everyone.
That's it?
What was the date? So we are interviewing the other applicant?
It's going to be on your next
For the
town board
ZBA?
meeting
Right.
on June 13th. You're
Okay.
just 6:45.
Okay.
I've confirmed with the applicant. So you just kind of.
And what's her name?
Paula Palazzi.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
We're having a special meeting on June 13th, so the town board can interview the applicant who submitted her application for the open ZBA position. ZBA, David Rosenberg, who was on the board, has submitted his resignation.
Okay, any other, we'll go to discussions.
I have discussion.
Sure.
The tractor that's at Beekman Park is due for its servicing. It was purchased from Reardon Briggs, and Reardon Briggs will come pick it up, service it, and bring it back. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize Sean Howard to get the tractor serviced.
You made that motion?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
We had some issues at Beekman Park. Some of the toilets were backing up and they weren't working. And if we don't have working toilets, it affects our ability to have a concession stand, and also how even the park working at all. So as a result of that, I had asked Stan and Highway to go to Beekman Park to try to locate the septic tank, because nobody seemed to know where it was. I guess it was put in about 23 years ago. So we did locate it, and since it was an emergency situation, I called Flood Sanitation Service. They came and pumped it out, and it was just about full. And one of the things they found, that there was a lot of paper towels in it. Currently at the ball field, we're using paper towels to dry their hands. So we're looking into some other receptacles that we can put on the wall that either have a different type of paper towel, or maybe the electric dryers, or something else where we don't leave rolls of paper towels in the bathrooms. I also called a plumber. We thought we might need new toilets, but it turned out we didn't. We just got the parts, And I think he ordered a new toilet seat for one of the toilets, and we're waiting for that to come in to make sure we had the ones that meet code. When I was there, I noticed there was a downspout missing on one of the gutters. And while the highway department was there, they checked out all the gutters, and we found there was only one working gutter, and that 2 of them had the outlet paved over when they did the paving. So the highway department went up there and fixed all the gutters so that the water would flow away from the building and not pool underneath it. So all of those things have been fixed. We're looking to see where the sprinklers are, which aren't working, to see if what needs to be done with those. Right now it's thought they might just need heads, but we're not sure. But the the fields are much too busy right now to be able to fix that at this time. Highway is also going to pull up the post near the gate so that we can properly, put the gate in so that we can close it and lock it when we need to make the park safer when it's not being used. And those are all the things.
Is there any, has there ever been any maintenance program ever done for the Bigton Park?
I have no idea. I don't think the septic was pumped in 23 years since they put it in. It was pretty full. But one of the other things
But I mean, like the fields and stuff. There's no.
Like a spring check or something.
Well, yeah, but as we go, because those fields are what, 30 years old at this point? Is there any program that's the commission is looking at that they're going to start working on these fields or propose to do any work on these fields and get stuff that's, these sprinklers have been broken for years.
Well, that's why we were
Right.
trying to locate where the lines are. I mean, the people that have been there a long
like we had
time.
the electric fixed a couple weeks ago, a month or so ago, for the emergencies. The electric, there were bare wires hanging out of the electric lines. Some of the panel boxes were unlocked. So we had all that fixed a few weeks ago, within the last 2 months. So there's some issues that have to be dealt with there on a regular basis.
Other than budgeting every year
Right.
and trying to do, stay within a very modest budget, there's only been the clay and, a
Yeah.
few maintenance items, but we haven't talked about, initiatives have come and gone with, the Lions Club doing their capital improvements, but to the dugouts and such. But I don't know that maybe it's in our rec plan how we're going to deal with the bigger picture of maintenance.
Okay.
I just have a quick question for Dawn Marie. Was there someone else who applied for ZBA as well?
No, we've already made the appointment.
Oh, okay.
So that this is,
I must have missed that meeting then, because I know they were lacking.
2.
they were
that there were-
lacking 2, and
Metcalf.
Terry Metcalf,
Okay.
who was the last one that you guys appointed at the last meeting.
Oh, okay.
But I guess there was some miscommunication during the month of December that David Rosenberg was unable to attend the Wednesday meetings. But in fact, it's not just a change of a date to make the convenience. He's out of town more than he is in town. So he sent a letter to all of us.
Formally resigning.
Formally resigning. So that's
Okay.
why I hadn't been advertising for 2. I only did the 1 when Judy was gone.
Okay,
So as soon as you can interview, then they'll have a full board again.
great, wonderful.
Did you happen to print out Christine's report? I didn't bring that, but she wanted to thank everybody who had helped with her opening day at the ball fields in March. Remember, she sent us both an email.
Yes, she actually listed all the amounts she had handed in to the bookkeeper that she collected from all the parents of the children on the team for a total of $3,420. And she sent a thank you note to the paper, and she says Sean Howard is doing a great job, and that the Monarchs had their first game on Sunday, May 19th, At 1 p.m. before the game, the Amenia Fire Company did a dedication to Gabby. The scoreboard is now working and for all to use. I'd like to give a big thank you to the Amenia Fire Department for the wonderful donation to Beekman Park. It's just amazing to see the scoreboard there, and it's dedicated to Gabby Farkas, who was such an important person in the fire department.
And to Christine Ford and all the volunteers who've made all these projects possible. Doing a great job, it seems to me.
You've done a great job there.
Yeah, there's more to do.
There's a lot of work to do.
but we're getting there.
No, we've made it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a really nice ceremony, too.
And does anyone else have other matters? No?
Well, we're going to talk about Main Street grant and the streetscape, because Darlene and I want to consider getting some professional assistance with the design and the bid specs for the streetscape portion, and we do have a scope of work that was submitted to Darlene and myself. I'm sorry, did not have the presence of mind to forward it to everyone else, but it basically would help us formalize a lot of the plans that a lot of us volunteers have met and thought about and talked about. Herb had his ideas, Darlene has ideas, I have ideas. Everybody on the enhancement committee has ideas, but we need it formalized in a plan that can be bid out in a professional way. That's my sense of it, Darlene.
Yes, did you speak with Peter?
I didn't,
Harris.
because it's clear to me that he has estimated that the cost of his services to assist us with getting this done, a plan done, let me just tell you, it would be develop a schematic overall streetscape plan on an aerial photo based on current proposal, but he'll work with us and perform a field meeting with the DOT representative. We've already met with the DOT. They said anything behind the sidewalk does not require a DOT permit. So originally he thought it would be about $7,000 to do this work, but he said $5,000 would do it if we didn't have to usher in and wait for DOT to okay trees being planted on the inside, of the sidewalk, within the curbing and the sidewalk as originally intended.
And he would work with them.
He would work with them as needed, but I don't think he's going to have to do that much. And what we would do is pay him on a time and a materials basis, which
and that would be covered by the grant.
We believe. Now, 20%, if it's $5,000, that's on the high side, and that's 20% of a $25,000 grant. I'm hoping that we can do less, given the volunteer component, and that we only use him for the time and materials that he absolutely needed.
Well, considering that you already have an aerial view with all of the positions of the trees there, the only thing you need to do is take out the ones that lie on the sidewalk and just leave in that which is behind the sidewalk, which I don't think you need to spend money for that, right?
He's got 6 hours to do it, so I don't think it'll
It's
take 6 hours. But I mean, these are just
submitting those
estimates,
plans, getting them approved, and he's done the mechanics of it so many times that I think it will be a fairly quick process, because Kevin has done a lot already, and the layout and that whole system of the photographs on over the parcel access, he said were great for submitting. Peter said are great for submitting initially, but then when we get to the nitty-gritty of, how
developing the bid specs.
How deep the holes need to be, and on a cost per unit basis, that we don't go over the funding allotment.
Right.
So I think
it's
it's worth doing.
I think
correctly.
it would be, yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
I think the depth of the holes only pertain to the grates, that they had to be dug to the depth of the manufacturer specifications of the grates. But for the trees, if I recall correctly, the depth of the holes only had to be the depth of the root ball, which varies from species to species and caliper to caliper. So
we had bid specs for the Mechanic Street that did not include tree grates, but it still was done incorrectly. But I think what we want to do is some airtight bid specs that require an arborist to be on hand, so that their interpretation of the, whoever the contractor is,
so we don't end up with the collars dug in
doesn't
again.
make their own judgment of where the root ball is or isn't, and it's just a good I think, good lesson to be learned, that we need good bid specs that are going to require the contractor who wins the bid, because we have to accept the lowest bid. It's not like we can choose.
So then this is something that we can also use for a template for future bid specs as...
Potentially, but I think it would also help to have a professional landscape person decide how many trees. We just went out there ourselves and said, let's take 6 trees here, but it would be helpful to have somebody say what would look good against Blango's thing is 8 trees of this type, you know, to give their interpretation. It's just my feeling that it needs to be done in a way that makes
So you want
the most sense.
Aesthetic of it as well?
I think so,
Yeah,
which would be the design plan.
It'll be covered by the grant.
Yeah.
If we get the grant.
That's helpful, thank you, Vicki.
And, okay, so that's part of it. He would develop the streets, he would develop the overall site plan, construction details, and prevailing bid package, coordinate project bid with town, noticing, publishing pre-bid site conference with potential bidders, bid opening, bid acceptance, bid award, and on-site construction coordination inspection. We can decide not to use him for any of these things. We can simply, if we may, at this town board meeting, go ahead and accept him on a time and materials basis.
So is that how you want to base your
But how soon? Just how soon?
He can start right away.
Okay.
He says that he can but
submit.
by fall, we will be ready to plant. He says well within, assuming that we don't go for
But
having
I think we need to get them on
highway
board, and we
permits
need
and
to
all
get them
that.
on board now.
I'll make the
I agree.
motion to, was it 5,000?
Well, hire him.
What's his name?
Not to
his
exceed,
name
maybe a not to
is
exceed
Yeah,
amount.
not to exceed.
Peter Karras of Taconic Site Design and Landscape Architecture. We
Just-
could hire him at his current rate as proposed, which is $95 per hour for a principal landscape architect, $55 per hour for a design drafting, and $40 per hour for administrative clerical, not for an amount not to exceed $5,000.
You want to make that motion?
I just want to know, I just want to make sure that whoever this guy is, that there's no conflict of interest that he has with anybody else or anything else in the town.
He is performing, he's our appointed planning board landscape architect who is a consultant already for the town.
So then,
I assume
Yeah, he
he's
already
already
works for the town.
met the test.
right.
I'd second.
You've made that official motion?
Yeah, she took it.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle? And
Yes,
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Can I get a copy of that?
yes.
The only other matters that I have, for the purpose of transparency in local government, I just wanted to let the taxpayers know that at the end of the April 25th meeting, after we came out of executive session and went into regular session, that a motion was made to move $500,000 from the general fund into a money market in order to get a better interest rate. But I just wanted to be sure that, you know, that there was transparency and that everyone knew how we were handling the money for the taxpayers.
Which is the normal function of town business.
But it should be public.
Are we handling the new transfer station hours?
Yeah, it's a
and-
resolution we have. Anything else on the discussion?
Are we going to have an executive session? I have some-
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Other
discuss.
matters? Okay.
Personnel issues.
Do you want to do my minutes under other matters?
What's that?
Want to approve my minutes under?
I haven't read the minutes, so it's up to the board.
I'd wait if,
Yeah.
I only got them today, I'm sorry, I did not
That's
have
okay.
time to.
Do you want to do the IT policies under
Yes.
other matters?
No, we're gonna do it right, the resolutions,
Okay.
transfer of funds. Oh, actually, I do have one other thing. There was, I talked to Darlene about this the other day, the Helen R. Buck Foundation of the care of the Clenmead Trust Company On June 14th, 2002, Mr. Tom Lejeune, Town Supervisor of the Town of Amenia. This is, it pertains to the town garage.
Oh, yes.
There was a donation. I am pleased to advise, dear Mr. Lejeune, I am pleased to advise you that the trustees of the Helen R. Buck Foundation have approved a grant of $5,000 to your organization. Enclosed is a check payable to the Town of Amenia in the amount of in full payment of this grant. The grant was suggested by Shyamala and Taylor Payne and is to be allocated for a new town highway garage. Please confirm receipt of this check to me and to our co-trustee, Mrs. Nancy Payne, P.O. Box 333, Far Hills, New Jersey. Right now it's about $6,000 with the interest. So I know you're looking for an engineer to do some plans for the town garage.
Yes, we need stamped plans that we can bid out.
Right, so we do have money available for that garage that's been sitting in a CD since 2002. You know, they've moved it around, so that is, I talked to you about it the other day, so I just wanted to make the board aware of that, of what we have.
Stan's agreeable to using that?
I haven't talked to him about it yet, so at this point,
well, we need stamp plans.
We need stamp plans to bid out. So,
so I'll check.
Do we have to have an engineer do it though? Can we have an architect?
Yeah, no, we can have an architect.
As an engineer would drive up the cost?
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not.
It may cost
6 to 1, half dozen.
An architect can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I just mention, and maybe this isn't at the appropriate time, but I liked Senator Gibson's idea that we do approach the state with his and Dee Dee's help, if that makes sense, about possible land that might be given to the town for town purposes at the DDSO site. Actually, for a highway garage or salt shed or...
Yeah, Stan and I went down there and looked at it. I took photographs. It's less desirable than where we are now.
The highway facility.
The current
but is there any other parcel that would make sense?
The,
because that place floods worse than the current
Well,
place.
now that I hear the geothermal, I mean, you can't use geothermal in a landfill. I mean, we were thinking radiant heat there was geothermal, but that's not going to work, so. I mean, we could pursue it. The garage is a garage. It's what would fulfill the needs of the highway department, so we still can pursue the land. We need the stamped drawings regardless. You know, Stan and I and John Fenton went over all the specs, the size of the rooms that needed to be appropriate for, you know, the lunchroom, the locker room. We've done all that. So it's a matter of refining the plans and, you know, at sketch level, which I've done, but then it has to go to an architect to draw up.
Okay,
and
so
stamp.
we could move that to a different location.
We still can move ahead.
Okay.
It's still a garage.
Okay.
So we can put it wherever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had one thing. And if this doesn't fit in here, let me know. I went to a couple of seminars. So I went to a complete streets seminar and a TEP workshop. In the TEP workshop, they said that they were going to have funding available, a couple of $1 million, if we get a grant request in by August. They give responses back by October for transportation enhancement. What they're mostly looking for are connections between all of the different, like, bike trail to bike trail, pedestrian to pedestrian walkway, and specifically trying to get from like the mass transit of Metro North up to the business district, up to our food distribution center, Freshtown Plaza. So in that, we're missing a little section, and I did pictures because I like doing pictures that I made for everybody. If you could take one, pass it down. So what this is it's on the GIS map. It's the overview of Amenia. You have up at the top is the Freshtown Plaza. In the middle is the Health Services Center, medical, and then down at the bottom is the MTA station. We have the rail trail that goes all the way from MTA, passes by Mechanic Street, and continues off. Now, Mechanic Street down to 343, we do have the pedestrian sidewalk, but we don't have clearly marked bicycles. So in the complete streets, the Dutchess County is saying that we should put up these, we should paint on the streets these symbols. And Mike, I don't know if you can see that. This is a sharrow. And what it is it alleviates us from having to put in a separate bicycle lane, which is kind of handy for our narrow streets. So you would paint this on the road, and then, as you can see, I'm sorry. It's called a sharrow, and as you can see, the car that's here is about the same width as the actual symbol. So if we put these on Mechanic Street from Railroad Avenue out to 343, it's considered a plus in the transportation enhancement, which would give us a better chance at getting a TEP grant to put in a sidewalk for the ever wanted and never gotten from the town hall up to Freshtown. So I haven't spent a dime on this. I haven't wasted a minute of Stanley's time on this, unless this is something you guys think is worth pursuing. If it's something that you think we should look into, find out what the initial cost would be of putting the sharrows in, and then asking about having Mike work on a grant, on a TEP grant to do this. I mean, that's chargeable time, so.
Yeah, the only other idea I had for the TEP grant is that for many years we've looked at grants and applied for grants and didn't get grants to enhance the parking at the foot of Powder House Road for the rail trail. I mean, there is a place there where, you know, we have a plan and a bridge needs to be built.
Right.
And we haven't gotten any grants that we've applied for, so that would be related to the rail trail and related to this grant, and that's something where we can apply.
Who owns that property?
We do.
We've got a lease. We had a lease.
We have a lease.
We have a lease, right? You have a lease? We don't own it.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't own it. DOT owns.
DOT owns it.
Yeah, we did a whole plan for that, but it was never.
It's never enacted. I mean, the main thing that
Well,
why
we
I
applied
backed off
for
of it
grants, but we didn't get them.
is because there was overflow at Mechanic Street for many years where they were parked along Railroad Avenue. And then I really haven't seen that. I've seen certainly the parking lot full, but I haven't seen the incredible overflow. And they do use
There were 7
the
cars
town.
there this weekend.
7 cars
Yeah.
in total?
On Railroad Avenue.
On Railroad, okay, so for busy days, yeah. I mean, that's the main,
And it would, I mean, it certainly would look
Purpose for
better if it
overflow.
was a parking lot than what it looks like
Well, why
now.
can't you do both?
Yeah, I would think the TEP, I
Right.
mean, if we had, it benefits more people if it
You
goes
also have
to
to
Freshtown.
replace the sidewalks on 44.
Yeah.
You just see the letter from the attorney.
The TEP doesn't apply to maintenance.
They gotta be replaced.
Yeah.
So, and then they should probably go to the ball field. So, that's something we've never,
Well, we always have the problem of getting people from town, the walkers, to Freshtown.
Right.
And
that's
this-
a big priority. I mean, the
That's-
point is, what size of a grant are they looking
Yeah,
for?
how much would it
Because
be?
that bridge was, $12,000, but the sidewalk to Freshtown is a giant chunk of change.
You looked
that
at that
make more
grant too, Mike,
sense.
didn't you? Could you?
Yeah, both times.
Yeah, do you want
I think that's a great idea, by the way. They're both very good ideas. Both would be eligible to the TEP grant, and you know we already got a big TEP grant for the Trail to the Train, which we're trying to implement now. But I think it could be, the Freshtown project would obviously be a lot bigger. We did apply, I think, for a CDBG like 5 years ago, and didn't get it. And we
Yeah,
also
we tried the safe, what is it, safe routes?
oh, that's right, the Safe Routes to School, right.
And we didn't get that one.
Which may
When-
come up
when this
again
was the
soon,
school.
but this is no longer a school, so that we're not eligible for that one anymore. I think the TEP probably would be the best bet.
And how
probably
much?
we would need to get cost estimates for the cost of linear foot of sidewalks. Dutchess County may be able to help us with that, though. They're pretty good with that, giving free estimates. You know, at least I could ask for that and put something together for the application. I think one requirement is that someone from your municipality goes to the workshop, which you may have already done. And then, of course, you have to pass a resolution. It's an 80-20% grant.
I went to the workshop.
TEP is an 80-20%, so, you know.
It's very good.
It's a nice.
That's the way to go if you want to try.
I would think that it's also the funding limits are relatively high. I have to look into it, but I mean, someone mentioned you may be able to do both projects.
My point is just that doing just the Powder House project isn't worth it because it's so much paperwork and effort to get those TEP grants going. Hence the, the 3-inch
But it benefits so
package.
many people.
But the trip to Freshtown is certainly, but maybe it could
Yeah.
be wrapped in as one project that increased transportation
A comprehensive
linkages in
bike.
Amenia, pedestrian and bike linkages. It could be possible. Now, you say that we would increase our competitiveness if we bought a can of paint
Yeah.
and painted a bicycle into the lane.
Yeah, they gave specifications. They have to be 250 feet apart. The size of the symbol is 5'9" by 3 feet 3 inches, and they have to be out so many feet from the curb, which is dependent upon state. And I could only download the California code, so I'm figuring that New York's going to be a little bit narrower because California had all the space they wanted, and we were already built up when they came up with roads for cars. But I'm sure Stanley's going to have that manual on uniform traffic control devices, which this falls under, but we get more points if we use it.
So who would do that type of painting?
The same people who does the crosswalks, which I guess would be the highway department. But like I said, I didn't want to waste any.
No, the county.
No.
But I
No,
think you
this
could
is a
probably.
town road.
Right, but
There's
right.
one that
The-
goes across Mechanic Street at Railroad Avenue on the town road. But I didn't want to waste his time if it's not something
I
that
think
we
it's a
don't
great
want
idea.
to
I think we
pursue.
should do
it's a
it.
great
I think it's an
idea.
indicator, too.
Sure.
People who are walking down
downtown.
343 will notice
You
there's a rail
can
trail.
come into town.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
And, time is of the essence, so I would make a motion that we pursue whatever we can to write up a TEP grant that would...
You would need a resolution. Wouldn't you have to do a resolution?
It has to be a form.
Yeah, you'd have to do a resolution, becomes part of the grant.
I could look at
We
the
could
manual,
do
because
it.
there definitely would be.
Do you have time to do
You'd be
it?
the sponsor.
Do you have time to do it?
Yeah,
You sure?
yes, I'd like to. I mean, it's due in August.
It's due in August with every T crossed and I dotted, because if we miss it,
No, I know.
there's no more money.
We've done one before. We did, the Trail to
Yeah.
Oh,
the
this
Train.
is the final TEP round?
This is the final
this is-
one.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would suggest that we, you worked with Tonya on the other TEP grant and myself, and if
Right.
we could enable Tonya to help with those, with that grant application, I think we're more likely to get it done. I mean, she has time during the day to make phone calls, and is there any way we can authorize her to work using the same budget line as our grant writers to be an assistant
And she
grant
did
writer?
express interest in
Right.
She's
wanting
ready to
do-
go.
Yeah.
She's ready to roll. She's experienced, and she was instrumental in getting the original TEP grant, so I don't think it's a far stretch to hire
I'm
her
in favor.
at the same rate, or,
Yeah, I think the Main Street grant
I
really
guess I
needs-
would object to that a little bit, because it is a position that I've held for a long time, and, it's built up to that level. And I did work with Tonya as a volunteer, and actually did pay her, too, for some of that work. So I guess it would be a little bit...
what would you recommend to make sure that this gets done on time and...
The problem, Mike, is you're not
during
getting
the
stuff
day.
done. That's the problem.
Well, the
so
problem is
overwhelmed.
he's not available
Right.
during
During the
All right,
day.
well,
business
I guess
hours.
you can decide.
At perhaps at a lower rate, we can hire Tonya to work as his assistant?
Sure. We'll make that
Okay,
motion.
I'll propose that we hire Tonya Shomatoff as the assistant grant writer for an hourly rate of $15 an hour.
I'll second.
He's currently,
I think, Mike should coordinate that, though.
yeah, he'll be.
Well, we'll have to
Yeah.
work with Mike, sure.
Yeah.
But
It has to go through you.
Yeah.
So it's just that I know the Main Street grant needs so much attention, and we can't let that slide.
No, I
So-
know, and I brought a copy of the Main Street grant budget, which points out that the town has some obligations too, in terms of budgeting, and, has that been, the street, you have 25,000 to pay for streetscape up front, but we're asking landowners to finance everything up front. The town also has to do that. Here's the budget.
Can we just finish up this one little thing? So then I'll touch base with Stanley and get pricing from him on putting this in and seeing if he needs a template or if it's something that we can kind
they
of
probably
freehand.
rent the templates, I would imagine.
Rent a template? And that's okay?
Or, I don't know who,
Yeah.
I know they have companies that do the striping. They must have something to do the bicycles,
Okay.
right?
I would assume that it's, it's a set, I mean, this is not reinventing the wheel. It has to be a certain size.
There's 3 different symbols. Some have bicyclists on them, little men pedaling, men or women. Or women.
The simplest one, the one that looks like a bike and an arrow. That's all we need.
Okay, so I'll come back next week and I'll have prices for everyone then.
I think it's
Sorry, Ma'am.
critical that we try for this TEP grant and the connection to Fresh Town because it is the last of its kind. It's 20% of our money matching and 80% federal funds. I mean, you don't get a better match than that. And it's something that the town has needed, and it's a possibility, I think. The team that you guys had before was very good. You got scored highest in Dutchess County with your
Yeah, it was well done, so
Trail to the
I think
Train
it's
grant.
a good combination.
Do you want to do a
I think
roll
we
call
should do
with
it.
that? Okay.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hesselberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do you want to talk about, do you want to get into this Main Street grant or do you want to wait? Do you want to wait and do this funds and all this stuff
Oh, we
first?
can do all the other stuff and get back to this
Okay.
streetscape.
Resolution number
29.
of 2013 transfer of funds, whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and unanticipated to amend the budget, and whereas the town budget line 14104.1.63 town clerk CE mileage requires an increase in the amount of $10.56 for the purpose of mileage for Dawn Marie Klingner, and whereas the town budget line 14104.1 town clerk requires a decrease in the amount of $10.56, and whereas the town budget line 81604.1 refuge garbage requires an increase in the amount of $492 for the purpose of refunding Royal Carding Service for 123 tickets at $4 per ticket, and whereas the town budget line 19004.1.49 special items CE contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $492, and now therefore be resolved that the town board authorizes the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transaction. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hesselberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Can I just make a comment on this?
Huh?
I did get a inquiry from one of our citizens saying, wondering if the Royal Carding Service gave us the tickets for which they were going to receive the $4 per ticket. And the answer to that question was yes, we do have a complete audit trail of all the tickets from the Royal Carding Service. So, thank you.
Resolution number
30.
introduction of local law authorizing the settlement of equitable claims by town board at a regular meeting of the town board of the town of Amenia held at the town hall of the Town of Amenia Town Hall on 29th day of May 2013. Supervisor Flood, seconded by, moved the following resolution to introduce the proposed local law to be known as Local Law Number 1 of 2013, entitled A Local Law Amending the Town of Amenia Town Code by adding a new Chapter 96 entitled Settlement of Equitable Claims. Now therefore be enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Amenia as follows. Section 1, Statement of Purpose and Intent. The Town Board is determined as is necessary and in the best interest of the Town of Amenia to enact legislation recognize the authority of the Town Board to approve the settlement of equitable claims pursuant to the authority of Section 10 of the New York Municipal Home Rule Law. Equitable claims as non-torious claims that have been docketed as a judgment at the time of such settlement. The Comptroller of the State of New York has expressed the opinion that the Town Board may enact local laws recognizing the authority to settle equitable claims based on home rule law. The benefit of the town recognizing such authority is that it permits the settlement of claims without the expense of litigation and the uncertainty of ultimate award of damages that might be imposed against the town by trial court. Section 2, the Town of Amenia, the Town Code of the Town of Amenia is hereby amended by adding a new Chapter 96 to the Town Code as to read as follows. Chapter 96, Settlement of Equitable Claims. Section 96-1, Authority of the Town Board to settle equitable claims. The Town Board is hereby authorized to compromise or settle any equitable claim against the Town of Amenia upon such terms which in the judgment of the Town Board are found to be just, reasonable, and in the best interest of the town, including such claims that may not be legally enforceable against the town at the time of such approval of compromise or settlement by the Town Board, except that this section shall not be construed to authorize payment of equitable claims that are barred by an applicable statute of limitations. Equitable claim is defined as a claim against the town for damage for a non-torious cause of action for which there is no judgment docketed or no litigation pending. Section 3, the local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Pursuant to the Municipal Home Law of the State of New York, it is necessary to hold a public hearing upon this local law. Councilwoman, councilmen offered the following resolution, which was seconded by, I need some seconds and
I'll
motions.
offer this following resolution.
Whereas on May 29, 2013,
Okay, seconded.
the Town Board introduced this proposed local law for the Town of Amenia to be known as the Town of Amenia Proposed Local Law Number 1 in 2013, entitled A Local Law Amending the Town of Amenia Town Code by adding a new Chapter 96 entitled Settlement of Equitable Claims. Be it resolved that a public hearing be held in relation to the proposed changes set forth in the form of notice hereinafter provided, at which hearing interested parties shall have an opportunity to be heard, to be held at the Town Hall on June 13th, 2013 at 7 o'clock p.m. and then notice of said public hearing shall be published in an official newspaper of general circulation in the Town of Amenia by the Town Clerk at least 5 days before such hearing, and such notice shall be in the following form. Take notice of public hearing. Do you do this now?
You don't have to read the notice, that's just
Okay.
for publication.
So we need to just vote on the first part, correct?
Correct.
All right, I made the motion in the first,
And I
seconded by Vicki Doyle. Do we have to have another one?
Do you have to do roll call twice? I guess is going to be his question. Do you have a twice?
No, you could just do.
Well, we have to have another, I'll make the second motion also.
I'll second the second.
Same.
What?
It's the same person.
Okay.
Do the next one.
It's just reiterating it, I guess, down here.
Is this the same motion again, or we have to do another motion?
You don't have to do it again. What do you
Good.
mean?
Well, there's two. It says,
The one is for the.
right, one is for the,
It
Public
is
hearing.
technically a separate motion.
All right,
Because
so I'll
one
make
is for the public hearing.
right.
So
To
you want to do it, Mr.
advertise for the public hearing.
I'll make the second one, the first and second one,
Okay.
okay, and then,
And then I'll second the second.
Okay.
Okay?
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crody?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Raymer?
Yes.
Resolution number
31.
designating Councilwoman Hisselberger to hear and decide FOIL appeal at a regular meeting of the Town of Amenia, Town Board, Town of Amenia, held at the Amenia Town Hall on the 29th of May, 2013, 7 p.m. Town Supervisor William Flood called the meeting to order, and I need a motion by someone.
I'll second it.
Another one. Whereas pursuant to Section 89.4 of the New York State Public Law Officers Law, the governing body of the municipality has authority to designate an individual to hear and respond to appeals of denial of access to a record of the town, and whereas the town clerk is in receipt of an appeal of the denial of access to a record of the town from Cheryl Morris dated May 9th, 2013, and whereas the town board now wishes to designate Councilwoman Gretchen Hitzelberger to hear and respond to the FOIL appeal made by Sharon Morris, and whereas the designation by the town board of an individual to hear and respond to a FOIL appeal is a type 2 action under seeker and is therefore not subject to environmental review, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby designates Councilwoman Gretchen Hitzelberger to hear and consider the FOIL appeal of Cheryl Morris dated May 9th, 2013, authorizes Councilwoman Hitzelberger to respond to such FOIL appeal on behalf of the town board. Now therefore be resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Abstain.
Good for you.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crody?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Raymer?
Yes.
Resolution number
32.
authorizing the change in days and hours of the operation of the immediate transfer. Have you all seen this one? The transfer station?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
At a meeting of the town board, the town of Amenia held at the Amenia Town Hall on the 29th day of May 30th, 2013. Town Supervisor William Flood called the meeting to order, and I'll make the motion, seconded by
Second.
Darlene. Introduce the following. Whereas the following advertisement for bids, the town of Amenia entered into a franchise license agreement dated October 19, 2012 with Valley 82 Holding Corporation, DBA Welsh Sanitation Service Company, Welsh, for the operation of the town of Amenia residential refuge and recycling town transfer station. Whereas Welsh has been operating a town transfer station at its facility located on Route 44 in the town of Amenia since December 1st, 2012, and whereas the town of hours of operations set forth in the franchise license agreement are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. closed all federal holidays, and Welsh has been operating town transfer station on those days and times, and whereas the franchise license agreement provides that the dates and hours of the operation shall not be changed without express prior approval of the town of Amenia. And whereas as a result of a notice of reduction in the use of the town transfer station on weekdays, Welsh has requested the town of Amenia Town Board change the days and hours of the operation of the transfer station to Fridays and Mondays between the hours of 7 and 2 p.m., Saturdays between the hours of 7 and 1 p.m. And whereas the town board has determined the change in the days and hours of the operation of the transfer station, those requested by Welsh shall not reduce the quality of the service to the residents of the town. And whereas the authorization to change the days and hours of operation of the town transfer station is a type 2 action that is exempt from environmental review under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and now therefore be resolved that the Amenia Town Board hereby consents to and authorizes the change in days and hours of operations of the transfer station by Welsh to the following dates and times: Fridays and Mondays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 2 p.m., Saturdays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., closed all federal holidays. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor enter into and execute any documents necessary or incidental to effectuate the change in the days and hours of the operation transfer station set forth above.
I have a question. Are we sure that nobody needs to use this on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday?
There is no, from what they're
It's-
telling us, there's no
yeah.
one there.
Well,
I know that it's nobody, but
It's not
according
nobody.
to Welsh, there are not very many people using it during the week.
Actually, I had complaints this week because the transfer station was not open after a holiday. And I think we ought to require
It said
them.
federal holidays. They were never, originally it said federal holidays, they would
I
never be
know,
open.
but what I'm saying is that if we're approving the new hours, that we should also include if if a holiday falls on a Monday, that they should be open Tuesday
Oh, and an alternate day?
as an alternate day. Because I had several complaints
Yeah.
this week of people,
They were closed?
they were closed.
They're open Saturday, but not the Monday of Memorial Day, which is a federal holiday. And I don't
Right.
think
Yeah,
we
they're
have
open.
been open that Monday, but I think you're right that we did
should do
open
it
it
on-
as a courtesy on a Tuesday
Yes,
following.
we did
Yeah.
at the transfer station, and I
Yeah.
think we should
Yeah.
carry on that tradition. And I
agree.
think that should be an addendum to the
Yeah.
resolution.
Or we could just
I would agree.
make a
Yeah.
change.
You can write it in, and I'm assuming Welsh would be in agreement with that,
Yeah.
but I'll have to check with them.
Do you want to write that in?
You can just write it in, that's fine.
And agree to it, assuming that they'll
So,
agree
yeah,
to it.
You wanna write that in?
Welsh agrees to it.
It's a net change of hours of 10 hours. So, I mean, we were 30 hours and now we're 20 hours. So I think if it gets really crowded, we can always revisit it. But I think,
Correct.
you know,
But
the service.
historically, the transfer station was open the day after a holiday.
Yeah,
So I think we should keep that.
Welsh has been very
They've
accommodating.
honored
Right.
all of our traditions,
Sure.
so I think we just had to
It's
ask.
going to be up to them.
I'm surprised they weren't open.
I think,
yeah.
well, no, they never thought of it, I'm
Right,
sure.
sure.
I mean,
But I think we need to put it, if
Yeah.
we're doing a formal resolution, I think
Well,
we
just
need
write it
to
in.
add
That's-
that.
Yeah, I think that's a
You
good
can
idea.
Write it in, then it's clear that that's
Right.
what you've approved.
The
And
following,
Following.
following day.
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay.
assuming Welsh is in agreement with that, then it
I'm
should-
sure they will be.
and the reality is your permit is so much cheaper. It used to be, I paid 60 or 65, I can't remember, for a permit, and now it's $10. And it goes from January 1st until December 31st. People have been asking if they can get $5 if they join in July, but no, it's $10. It's a nominal fee, and it's a great service. They help you with all of your needs, and I think it's
worked out
something
really
we
well.
should all be using, because we all have recyclables that we can, and they take almost all the plastics. You can single stream recycle now. You can put tinfoil pizza boxes, any plastics. You used to not be able to recycle containers that had food contamination on it. You can bring any boxes that have that slick coating and printing on. You used to not be able to do that. It's a very, very useful service, and it all goes into one big container other than metals and your bulk garbage, household garbage. So it's a very good deal, $4 for a contractor-sized bag of household garbage.
And the staff is very helpful once you're
Incredible.
there.
They take 1 through 7, plastics 1 through 7. Just look on the bottom of your stuff. Almost everything is recyclable, these days, and you don't have to pay to have it disposed of properly. It's really great.
Supervisor Flood,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Rayner.
Yes.
You got the next one.
Number 32? 33.
33.
Whereas Section 6C of the General Municipal Law authorizes the governing board of a town to establish a capital reserve fund for the financing of all or part of the cost of construction, reconstruction, or acquisition of a type of capital improvement, or the acquisition of a type of machinery or equipment. And whereas the town board finds that the acquisition of highway equipment and machinery is necessary and appropriate to facilitate the continued proper functioning of the town highway department. It is hereby resolved that pursuant to Section 6C of the General Municipal Law, the Town Board hereby establishes a capital reserve fund, the fund, to finance all or part of the cost of the acquisition of highway equipment and machinery to be used by the Town Highway Department. It's further resolved that the Town Supervisor is hereby directed to deposit the following sums in the fund. One, $60,000, being the sum included in the fiscal year 2013 budget for this purpose, and two, such other funds as may be directed by the Town Board and any subsequent duly adopted resolution. It is further resolved that all sums deposited in the fund shall be held in a separate bank account to be known as Highway Department Equipment and Machinery Reserve Fund. It is further resolved that the Town Supervisor is authorized to invest the monies of the fund from time to time as provided by general municipal law. It is further resolved that no expenditure shall be made from the fund unless that expenditure has been authorized by a resolution the Town Board duly adopted in accordance with Section 6C of the General Municipal Law. It is further resolved that this resolution shall become effective immediately. Can I make that motion?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Raymer?
Yes.
Resolution number 33?
Four.
34. Adopting the town accessible use policy at a meeting of the town board, Town of Amenia, held at the Town of Amenia Town Hall on the 29th day of May 2013, 7 p.m. Supervisor Flood, seconded by Councilwoman.
I'll do that.
Should take the councilman out. We don't have any councilmen. Whereas the town board of Amenia has determined that it is necessary and in the best interest of the town to adopt an acceptable use policy which sets forth the acceptable use of information resources and information technology systems by all officials and employees of the town. And whereas the town board has prepared such a policy which is attached hereto, and whereas the town board has determined that adopting such an acceptable use policy is a Type 2 action of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker, and is therefore exempt from environmental review, and now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby adopts the attached acceptable use policy for its acceptable use policy for the town of Amenia, and be it further resolved that the attached acceptable use policy shall be distributed with a signed acknowledgement to all town officials and employees. The foregoing resolution is voted upon with all councilwomen voting as follows.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crody?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Raymer?
Yes.
Yes. Now, does this go, we make this and every employee signs this? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
part of the employee handbook. It goes as an addendum to sections 9 and 11.
All right, so do you make copies of that for Mary to have everybody sign, or do you want to have them sign it in the town clerk's office? How do you want to handle that? Town clerk's office, probably.
Whichever is easiest for the employees, just so we can get it done.
They can come by and stop by and see me.
The same way with this breach notification policy, we don't have to read this thing, right? Do we have to read all this?
All 38 pages? No, I think we can probably skip that, but
All right, so
They
the-
get a copy of these two items.
And they get a copy of this, right?
they don't need the breach notification policy at this point. That's for the town clerk and the emergency management team, and the town board. The acceptable use policy that's the one where how do you use your computer. The breach policy is what do we do if our systems are broken into.
And can I just confirm that you're talking about in-house employees, or are you talking about everyone?
Anybody
with a computer
who has a computer system, let's make it easy. Anybody who has an email address with the town.
There you go, that's the difference between being here and...
Yeah.
Okay, so
If you've
it's
got a
all-
town email address, you need to sign off on the internet and acceptable use policy.
The annual drinking water quality report for 2012 went out today. I think most went out, that's a little bit late because of the county. town board comments?
I want to welcome Gretchen Hitzelberger. I think you're a real big
One more?
help.
I'm sorry.
Go
You have
ahead.
to just do the adoption of the breach notification policy. You don't have to read the policy, but there was another resolution.
Oh.
You have to read the
Yeah.
resolution.
We gotta read the resolution.
That right
Resolution number 35. Whereas Section 6 of the General Municipal Law authorizes the governing board of a town to establish a capital reserve fund for the financing.
No, that's wrong.
That's wrong one.
Nope. Try this one, Bill.
I thought we did this.
No. It's similar to the other one.
This is a breach. It says breach.
Adoption of breach notification policy. At a meeting of the town of Amenia, the town board of town of Amenia, held at the Amenia Town Board, the 29th day of May 2013 at 7 p.m. Town Supervisor William Flood called the meeting to order and...
I'll do that. Second it.
And Councilwoman introduced the
Second.
following resolution to wit, whereas the town of Amenia, as part of conducting the business of the town, maintains computerized data which includes personal or private information with respect to individuals, and whereas Section 208 of the town of New York State technology law requires the town to provide notice to individuals when there is an unauthorized acquisition of without valid authorizations of computerized data maintained by the town which compromises security, confidentiality, integrity of personal information regarding those individuals. And whereas the town board has determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Amenia for the town to adopt a breach notification policy which provides for the notification of individuals whose personal or private information maintained by the town is acquired without authorization or without valid authorization according to the state technology law. And whereas the adoption of such a breach notification policy is a type 2 action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and is therefore exempt from environmental review, and now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby adopts a breach notification policy here attached here to as a breach notification policy town of Amenia as a notification town of Amenia. The following resolution was voted upon by
Supervisor Flood?
yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
And this gets signed also, this goes in the handbook?
This
Or
is
just goes-
just a departmental policy. It doesn't have to go out to the employees.
Okay.
I just need my copy back. Thanks.
Town board comments?
I was just going to say that I welcome Gretchen's professional and civic assistance to the town of Amenia. It's been helpful to have her on board. It's been helpful to have her helping with the town of Amenia before she came on board. So I really appreciate this. It's just an example. These computer use policies and the breach notification policy brings us into compliance. We would have had to have paid a consultant to bring us up to compliance with New York State, and we are there. So I already appreciate very much all you do for
Yeah,
Amenia.
I join you in that comment. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
Thank
It's
you.
great what you've done so far. It's obviously
Very good.
a lot of work.
Thanks, guys.
But keep it up.
Keep going.
Well, I wanted to thank the town clerk's office, the bookkeeper, the supervisor's office, everyone for all their help in getting me everything that I've needed to get this stuff together and get me up and running so quickly. I really couldn't have done it without their help. They've just been really terrific.
I've been working with a committee of Linda Gregory from the Recreation Commission and Charlene Pollinger as a volunteer to try to set up a few senior trips so we could take advantage of that $5,000 we have sitting in the budget. One of the ones that, and this is a place that they've gone before, the AquaTurf Club. It's in Plantsville, Connecticut. They're going to have a musical variety show with songs from Sinatra to the golden oldies and some classic country. They also have a family-style luncheon, which is a lot easier for people who find it very difficult to handle a buffet. And I've worked with the bus company, and I also called this place, and I have it reserved, and I have a bus reserved with the bus company, and we'll be sending flyers, and we want to see if we need to establish a separate account for the money to come in as they pay for it. And the other one we came out with was another place that's a favorite of the seniors. It's Hunt's Landing in Matamoros, Pennsylvania. One of the criteria for the senior trips is to keep them within a 2-hour driving span. And this would be on October 16th to an Oktoberfest. They have bingo, music, dancing, entertainment, and it's something that I don't know if they've actually gone to the Oktoberfest, but I know they have gone to other events there and enjoyed them very much. And then in December, on December 6th, which is the Friday night that they've had a few years ago, is a Christmas dinner at the pond in Copac. So we're still working on all the details and getting the information out to all the seniors, so at least we'll have 3 trips we can get in, you know, to the end of the year. Yes, very much so. I talked to Michelle about this one and gave her the information. The only other one we had originally thought was to have, in October, to have a shopping trip to Cross Gates, but I kind of got shot down on that one. But the Oktoberfest they seem to be interested in, but I'm going to be, you know, talking to a lot of the seniors and see, you know, if there is a lot of interest. I know they've gone to other Oktoberfests, and there's just a lot of things to do, and this is one of their favorite places to go. And I will be going on these trips so I can coordinate and make sure everything goes smoothly.
I did have one more, Bill. New York State IT Services requests that we do community outreach for IT, so people can get a little extra information from us since we have to do so much research. So our first community outreach is a public service announcement. These are the worst passwords to use. If you see your password here, change your password. If your password is password, change your password. If it's 123456, 12345678, ABC 123, QWERTY, Monkey, Let Me In, Dragon 111111, or Baseball. Please change your password if you see it listed here. Don't let these be your passwords. These are published all over the web, and they are the first 10 passwords that anybody trying to get into your account is going to try. If anybody here has this for your password, please change your password. This has been a public service announcement. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to say, Vicki, you did a great job on the Memorial Day. You know, getting all the word out in the paper. It was really enormous effort. And also, you know, getting all the you know, all that information to the hometowner. I saw that email back and forth, and I know it was a lot of work, a lot of coordinating, and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to Andy Murphy for coordinating the parade that added to our ceremony at Fountain Square for Memorial Day. I think that's a lovely tradition, and I know it's hard for them to get all those flags out. It was amazing. And Gretchen got some great pictures, which she promoted in the paper. So it's all a community effort for sure. And everybody should be very thankful for the beautiful flowers again that was planted in time for Memorial Day.
Design,
we didn't get it all done, and there's more coming. It's phase 1, so we worked hard. Anna worked ridiculously all Memorial Day weekend, and we didn't get everything done. So there's more to come, but perennials were the idea. So if you don't see the normal flash of colors, it's worth waiting for because they're going to bloom in a succession, hopefully. And they'll take less watering and less maintenance and perhaps be available for next year. So we're hoping to, you know, reduce our overall costs and impact on those flower barrels, so very
It's great.
exciting.
It's nice.
Good. It was a great day, Memorial Day.
It was
And actually,
beautiful.
I spoke at Smithfield Church the day before. That was a great service also. That was a great day.
Yeah.
They were lucky to get the tent up. It wasn't
Yeah, we got it up in the rain on
in the
Friday.
rain on Friday, so that was a great day also. Darlene, you have anything to say?
Smithfield Church Supper, speaking of churches, is on the 8th. That's coming up. 2 servings, 5 and 7. It's, I dare to say it may well be sold out, so
6:30.
6:30, yeah. So I
That's
don't,
when
I don't know.
I'm signed up for, they better be having it then.
Yeah, so I don't know
Is that,
how many seats are left, but ham and strawberry
Frida?
dinner. Frida Thompson, 373-8454.
Yeah, the 5 o'clock is sold out.
Yeah.
8454?
Yes. And they're all, you know, handmade biscuits, strawberries, a lot of participation by all the members in the church, so it's a nice event.
And we had the Fireman's 5K.
Oh, how'd that go?
That was really good. They had a nice group of people. Kevin and I couldn't run because we had to go to do planting day, but I went there, I made my donation for us, and later in the day we did put in our 3.1 miles, our 5K on the rail trail with our dog. Bill can attest to it. I was dying by the time I got around to Cozy Corner. And Kevin, of course, looked cool, and Kaylee was ready to go again, you know. But they had a nice crowd turnout, and people were walking and running, and my favorite was the woman with the baby carriage. You know, she was the kid's
Up
first
for it.
5K. Can't walk yet, but he's already running, so that was really
was
cool.
Sunday at 7 to 8?
That was
Sunday?
7 o'clock check-in, 8 o'clock.
Memorial Day.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is that something they're going to do yearly?
Yes, we would like, actually, we're looking at scheduling one for the fall.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We had 38 participants, 2 individuals donated, and for 40, a head count of 40 for our first one. We were pretty psyched about it. So we would like to do one again in the fall.
Yeah,
That's
I think they definitely should, and I think we shouldn't plan a planting day for that day. And so
One other
we can
thing I
actually
just
go
thought
on
of, you know, since we're getting this new, it's a copper eagle that someone donated, and it's in my office. I'm waiting to get it appraised. The donor wants to give it to the town, but would like a letter that says, you know, of certain value. Just, he may never even use it for taxes, but looking at the flagpole out there, we need a new state flag. So I called Terry Gibson's office, and we'll be getting one. I have to take this one down to measure it, so they will replicate whatever size we have.
Let me add to that.
State flag is
Right, and we also bought a new county flag. We ordered it. It'll take
oh, so
couple
we have
weeks. 2 new
three?
flags.
We have the American.
Right, and you have the county flag out front here also that's going to be
Oh,
replaced.
okay.
That's pretty frayed. So we purchased it, we bought a new one. Takes a couple
Okay.
weeks to get it.
So my understanding of the IRS tax laws is that when somebody provides a good or service in kind, in other words, at no cost, and we benefit from that, at least as a nonprofit organization, this is how we respond. We do not provide the value of the item. We provide a description, which the appraisal is nice that you're doing for him, but it's on the onus of the donor to provide the value, and it's their responsibility to have their appraisal or whatever they've used to gauge it. We do not say that was worth 1.5 million or $2. We just say it was you describe it to the best you can, the height, the type of materials, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you might use on eBay, for instance, to describe it. And you say thank you for that donation, but they keep any documentation. I mean, it's nice that you're providing that, but we have no responsibility
That's correct.
in
Yeah.
providing a number.
It's more a transfer. He wants to have it documented that it came
Yes, a
from this
letter
place
will
to that.
absolutely needs to document that.
We have an appraiser in Smithfield, so I've
That's
asked him
nice.
to just stop by and take a look at it.
That's nice, but we won't put that in the letter, how much it was
I also
worth.
spoke to Pete Bailey to stop at your office and take a look at it to see if he could do whatever's got to be done on the
Yeah.
roof.
Okay.
Did you want to do this?
Did you ever speak to not-for-profit in Poughkeepsie?
I have not heard back. She's had her baby, I
Baby,
believe,
right.
but I haven't heard back from Kevin Quilty, who I was working with.
Right.
I can email him.
All right.
And
So
see
we
if
can get
he's
that
come
done.
up with a
Okay.
waiver of that fee
All right.
to develop our nonprofit.
Where are we with Willow Lane?
We can talk about that. It's probably more appropriate to talk about it in executive session if you're going to
Okay.
start executive session. But I do have an update.
Why don't you talk about that?
Okay, because we have to announce why we're going in executive session. We're going to do legal matters
You
too.
can say legal matters.
We have to announce.
I think it's a
as
great
part of the
idea to start getting them.
part of the motion.
Okay, why not?
What do you want?
We had emailed, I sent out an email about, instead of calling the landfill park,
Old
that-
Amenia Landfill Park.
that perhaps we could call it
Doesn't have a ring
something.
to it, does it?
It really doesn't. I just would not want to take even my dog to landfill park. So I looked up on, and like I said, I'm no Arlene, but I looked up on Wikipedia, and they had 3 names from Amenia's history that had something to do with nature in their history. So the names I came up with were John Barlow, who's an entomologist, Obadiah German, who worked on the Erie Canal, and of course Thomas Young, who named the town. So what I suggest we do is put up one of those, quick votes on the website and run between June 1st and June 30th, which will be Saturday until June 30th. Allow people to go in there and vote online for their favorite name, and that will be our working name for Landfill Park. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea.
Can we put an other so that somebody could come up with their own
Write-in candidate?
options? Yeah, their own ideas, because you might get some interesting, creative.
Well, other's going to cost you a little bit more because other has to go someplace.
Oh, this is an inexpensive Survey Monkey sort of thing, or?
I could do a Survey Monkey if you want a Survey Monkey. I was just going to do a flat little article, just basic HTML, plug it in there, but...
The problem I have is none of those 3 names scream Amenia to me. I just know that there are local names and they're very cherished.
Well, like I said, I didn't pick the best.
There's so many names that people love, like Delaware Hill, or that there may be something out there that we don't know that would just really strike a chord.
So we like the other. You guys like having another option?
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. None other than Barlow. That's the only
Barlow
name I
means
would
something, but-
recognize.
Yeah.
But
I thought it'd be fun to say Obadiah Park. 'Cause
yeah,
it's got
right.
that ring to it.
It's going to end up as OP.
Yeah. Victoria, what do you think? Did you like the other option or just the
3 options?
Just the 3 names?
I think the idea of the 3 names is fine.
Okay. 2 others, 1 3, Bill?
I'm fine with going with the other.
The others have it? Okay, so by Saturday, not good as Dawn Marie at that, but by Saturday we'll have a survey up on the website to vote 1, 2, 3 or other.
Okay.
Thank you.
What exactly is the plan for the mowing company? I mean, are we documenting all their...
Yeah, I spoke to him, I left him, we left him a message today. I have not spoken to him yet. So I will call him and see what we're gonna do here. Obviously, it's becoming an issue.
The complaints that I've received, I've documented.
Right.
And also, we are paying them more. We're paying them from... They started mowing at April 20th, and we're paying them an additional $1,241. For a total of $8,691. Yes.
The discussion I had with him was that there was a mistake in the bid. If we, I think the bid said, what, May 20th?
Mm-hmm.
We'd had a hayfield here, so he wanted to mow it that week, so which he did. If we need to pay him an extra month or whatever we have to pay him at the end of the summer. We'll see where we are. He sent an email to the town, right?
Yes.
So we'll have to see where we are. Nothing's set in stone.
But are we gonna make it through the summer with them? I mean,
I've had 100 people tell me how great the place looks. So at this point,
Well,
there's some issues. What he's got, there's no question. But he's done, some of it, what he's done is a pretty good job.
well, he's
here.
not doing a good job on the ball field. In fact, I came here, he was here on Mother's Day, and I said to them that I was getting a multitude of complaints, and he could not come to the ball field every 2 weeks. That was totally unacceptable. So now he's coming more often.
Okay. What's the bid say?
2 inches, I think, is
You need to say 2 inches?
the maximum height.
It doesn't
Yeah, they
appear
had
to
weeds
say it.
underneath the seats that were more than 2 inches.
On the bid, it specifies that the ball fields and adjoining lawns are to be mowed once a week at 2 inches and 3 inches.
All right, I'll talk to him in the morning.
It doesn't mention Borden Park though, and that's where we got one complaint.
Right.
Apparently, we need to do something about that.
We didn't include it in the bid specs?
I'm not seeing it here.
Well, if we have a contract, we need to hold him to the contract. If he isn't gonna.
Well, it could be considered part of the trail leading to the
contract, causes
Passaic
damage to the
ballparks.
sides, I think we need to look at this.
Could it be considered part of the trail leading to the Passaic ballparks?
No, that's a different.
I know it.
Ball fields, it says Wasaik ball fields, but it doesn't say Amenia ball fields?
Beekman
No.
Park. Beekman Park.
That's,
Um,
oh, Beekman Park ball fields, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay, so
I
it's
was
in
talking
there.
about Borden,
Borden, well, that,
where Anna's plantings are getting
that
overgrown. with-
is, I believe, Borden, Pauling Corp. has their own contractor, and they have done that. That's their property.
Okay.
I will call Greg Holland or the guy in charge of the mowing there. You're right, it was overgrown.
I had forwarded that complaint to the supervisor's office. I'll forward you the photos.
Okay.
Because-
Oh, no, I don't need photos. I knew exactly what it looked like.
Oh, okay.
We planted down there
Yeah.
amidst the
Yeah,
hay
it
field.
was just Anna
Yeah.
seeing the
Okay.
grass go to seed on her plantings
Okay.
was stressful.
Supervisor's report.
Sorry.
Last night we met with Ron Hicks from Dutchess County, who's the, works with Marcus Molinaro, who's in charge of the economic development and works for the Dutchess County Planning Department. About working with the grants that are available through the state and the federal government. He was here for a couple hours. We met with Tanya Shermanoff, the guy that has the fish in
I
Wasaik.
don't know who
I don't remember his name.
aquaponics guy
Yep.
is.
Bowie from the Wasaik Project, Sharon Kroger, Garland was there,
Mike was there.
Mike was there. So it was a good conversation as to how we can
Yeah.
get, hopefully we can get some of these grants and what he's got to do, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of work that has to be done by these different organizations to see if they can get some money. Hopefully we can, and see where we are. Obviously, if we can get the grant for the sidewalk, that would be great. Also, we are under notification from an attorney that the sidewalks on Route 44 are in terrible condition, which they are. Stanley and I walked them the other day, and they're going to have to be replaced at some point, so we're going to have to look for some money
Was
from
that
there.
the first
Stan is
complaint we got
paving
on
them
that?
now as a stopgap
Well,
measure.
he's fixing them up a little bit, yeah.
But that was the
So
first
we don't
complaint we got was from an attorney, not from the person.
Right,
That's sad.
right. And there is no sidewalk to the ball field.
Right, it doesn't meet code. I mean, you
Right.
have to have a curb between
Right.
traffic.
He was going to get some prices as to what it's going to cost, and we'll have to see where we are with the bid. Get some grant, or see if we can get a grant.
Sidewalks are expensive.
They're not going to be cheap, that's for sure.
No.
So maybe we can do it the same, maybe we can do it with the TP.
Maybe it could all be included.
All included in one grant. I don't know if
Because
it-
80, yeah, I know, because 20 cents on the dollar, that's the kind of, equation that you can't beat. And this is being the last round, we really need to be competitive, I would think. Although, I think we could be. You know, if you are correct in thinking that this is in fact a priority of theirs to connect a food source to a Metro North.
That's what they were describing, so.
Transportation hub to food source.
Building on what we've already done.
Yep.
And some of the buzzwords from Ron Hicks' meeting last night, talking about job creation.
Job creation is a good idea, yeah. I mean, I think.
Well, you're connecting the town to the ball fields, the kids are safe, so on and so forth, so that's all stuff that has to be done, it should be documented. The same way with the 1-2 from Fresh Town to State, it's a wonder someone hasn't gotten killed, it's amazing. But
Yeah,
those
originally
people-
when we did Fountain Square, they had included a sidewalk with granite curbs to the ball field, and then they pulled it out. And then they were gonna do concrete, then they said, well, we're just gonna paint lines. And I said, great, that's really gonna stop a car from hitting a bicycle. But they pulled it out. Yeah. So it was there at one point.
So back, I mean, I'm sorry to draw this out, but for Main Street grant, it seems to me that we need to get contracts signed by the applicants, by the people who have been awarded grants from the town. And is that something, Mike, that you need Ian to do based on the boilerplate model that's on the website?
Yeah. Well,
because I think we should authorize him.
There's some boilerplate contract language that I sent to the two landowners. It's a grant agreement, basically, from New York State Main Street, which I could share with you. I just put in their names and the addresses and changed it to the town of Amenia, you know. But yes, it probably should be reviewed by you.
Okay,
And
the
then,
contract is between the property owner and the town? Or
Yes.
the property?
Yes.
Okay.
yes, you know, but really just stepping back for a second on Main Street, if I can give a quick update, because we did have a meeting with Crystal Loeffner of the Office of Community Renewal, who is basically managing the grant. Because, you know, everyone's concerned, we want to move it along. $160,000 is for building renovations, and one building has been slated for $138,200. So what we're trying to do, based on this meeting, is now come up with a clear scope of work for the two buildings, how they will spend that money, obtain two written quotes for the work that needs to be done, and then execute contracts with them so that we can disperse money to them, because the money will come to the town as the work progresses, and the town will then there's a bank account already set up to accept the grant funds. We also have to get from the landowners, and I'm trying to set up a meeting with the one who's getting most of the funds initially, because we have to finalize these contracts really before anything can go forward, to get at least a payment schedule that she would be comfortable with, that she could work with. We need to have some idea of financing. I know you've all been asking for that. So we're trying to get a meeting. I made that clear to her. So we're going to meet as soon as we can. She couldn't meet today. We were willing to meet today. That's our big goal, is to get the scope of work done, get the two written quotes, have you approve.
And going forward, we'll have weekly meetings.
Yes, we're going to be.
Well, I
We're
spoke
not-
to the
there's not
state.
gonna
The
be
problem
any
that the
say.
state has is that if we have to put a deadline on this financing, if the applicant does not have the financing by a certain date, then we have to move on. You're not gonna be able to move this grant forward unless you have the financing in place.
Right, we realize that. That's why I'm trying to have this meeting. I've made it clear we have to meet.
We've been trying to meet with her for months.
One more chance to meet and really set up a payment schedule and clarify what are your financing, how are you going to go about doing this and paying for it, and give us a draft schedule, at least 50% of the work, and then she'll get reimbursed. You know what I mean? So she does have to do that, because that came out of the meeting with Crystal Loeffner, too, that we need a schedule of payments.
I'm
Clear
just going to make the suggestion one more time. If you're unable to meet with the person this week, then I would recommend that we send a certified letter stating this is your last chance. You have, 7 to 10 business days to respond with this, with the paperwork you need, or we move on or something like that.
I'll be calling her directly. She's
I'd
going
like
to
to
meet with
I'll
us
make that
this
motion.
week. She has to.
I'll make that motion that we do that. I'll second that. It's time. It's gone too far.
And Victoria, I would say, please call her, because we want
I
to.
understand she hasn't returned any calls.
She calls. She has.
So please reach out to her, but let's cover ourselves too,
she-
so we don't lose the
She
funds.
was going to meet, today, she's out of town. She's in the city, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a year and a half.
we could move forward on both, that would be terrific.
We realize that.
You're making the
And I also reached out to the second landowner to get gave her a copy of the grant agreement, also asked her to get another quote, so we have 2 quotes for her building. We have to do an environmental checklist for each building, which means a professional may need to be hired to do an evaluation of the buildings. And I did give you a copy of the budget because it shows that, you know, there are certain match requirements for the town as well, and match requirements for the landowners. Even for the $25,000 streetscape project, the state will not reimburse the town until the project is completely done and paid for by the town. So that's $25,000 that the town will have to put out and get reimbursed, which I'm sure, you know, I've been assured you have that.
Well, I think they're pretty close to a plan as far as that goes.
And the other question is whether or not you can plant on private property with state funds. I know we could not with the Mechanic Street grant, so I'm just wondering about the legalities of that. I just wanted to ask, bring that up because that's a question I'm going to be asking Office of Community Renewal.
I thought she said that what we needed is a landowner agreement, and there were examples.
We just needed a waiver.
Yeah,
right?
we just need a waiver. And
So do you think that is, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I wasn't clear on that, but.
Plus, we have other funds to pay for trees too, so you can sort of play around with that a little bit, right, I think.
Well, we better wait to spend
Right.
on our 39 trees that are going in. I mean, we have $9,000 in a private fund, but the garden club is already planting that in places.
Those $9,000 worth of trees have been accounted
muddy
for,
the waters.
but can be adjusted. I would recommend that you reach out to Kevin to speak to him about it.
At this point.
There is so. There's a plan for the streetscape, and a lot's
It's
been
not
done.
finalizing. Right, but the issue is from the state of New York, and I spoke to the woman, if you do not have the money by a certain date, you gotta move on.
But then you could say that about the town too, Bill. Do you guys have $25,000
Yes,
for
we're
streetscape?
fine.
Where
We're
is
fine.
it? Is it in the budget?
It's not in the budget, but we have money that we could that we can move around to pay for the trees. But a year and a half later, Mike, here we are with the.
I know, there's been issues.
It's gone too far.
No, I know, but I think we should
You know,
work,
no one
we
is
should be
calling,
positive and
you
try
don't
to.
call anybody back.
No, but
you don't call a soul back. And then we don't hear anybody, well, you don't call anybody, so it's a
Who am I
difference.
supposed to be called?
Well, go forward and be positive, do the best we
That's
can.
right.
Because even if we do step back and, you know, don't go forward with that particular project, we have to start over with other projects, so it would be the same
Well,
thing.
you're gonna lose a grant in December.
Not necessarily.
Well, according to her, yes.
She wants us to understand,
We have to
and
move
the
forward.
applicants to understand that they have to submit their receipts project fully completed by December 7th. That's what I understood from.
I know, but there have been
the meeting.
extensions in the past. I mean, it's not like it doesn't,
But we
hasn't
can't
happened.
I don't
have, we
think
can't
we
have
can
somebody count on that.
No.
I mean, this is a lot of money.
They need to understand that
I realize
we are
that,
on
and
the line,
we
they're
are
on the
chipping
line.
away at it and making progress. A lot of progress has been made. A lot of this is new to the town, and a lot of it also has not been clear by the state either. The state has not made it clear on a lot of these things. That was the first time we met with the Office of Community Renewal only 2 weeks ago, and you know, I think they need to be a little bit more upfront too in guiding us on this. I called today and still have not heard back. So it's not just the landowners, or, you know, there's other issues here. Everything has to be in the public and has to be done correctly. We had to advertise all the meetings. We had to get quotes from all the landowners. We had to get applications. We had to have a subcommittee, which consists of the town board. The town board made the decisions as to who to select. We had competitive projects. We had some that were not complete. Really, the 2 applications that were awarded were the highest scoring applications. That was done objectively. So, you know, there's reasons we're a year and a half into it. A year and a half since we got the grant. We were 5 years trying to get the grant. So it's a little history on this. I mean, it's not quite true it's been a year and a half. A year and a half was when the grant was awarded. Then we got a contract from the state 3 months later. You know, so it's not all just, oh, we're a year and a half into this. Yes, we still have 6 months to implement it, and we're very close. We're very close.
Well,
It does require
from
a
now
little bit
on,
more
we
cooperation.
will be meeting
But at some
weekly.
point, Gretchen's right, you have to have a drop dead date. If there's no financing available to this one project, or these projects, then you have to move on.
Well, I agree on that. We are trying, that's why we're working, and we have been very reasonable with the landowner. She did want to meet with some committee members. That could not happen. I was trying to do that before this meeting. This meeting was rescheduled, so I called her again today and told her we want to meet this week. So I'm working on that, and I do realize the need to possibly reconsider things if that doesn't work out.
But then, well, there's a motion in front of the board, correct? And if we don't hear anything within a week, then she's notified.
And you'll, it's 7 to 10
I'll be
business
talking
days, and
to
you'll,
her in the next day or so.
okay,
Are you
but just in
available?
case,
Yeah, I think we should, well, I think if we don't have contact with her to get some sort of finality by Friday or the latest on Monday, we need to do a letter.
Right.
Okay, I have a motion.
Only because it has to be documented that we did
Right.
everything we could. So I think if we cut a little slack right at this, I mean, nothing's going to happen on our level before Monday, so
I would
we
hope
had
that
by Monday.
we get, like tomorrow, the boilerplate that you've already worked on to Ian for the grant contract.
I can do that, yeah.
And so that when we talk to her on Monday, our meeting that we sit down with her, she's ready to sign or, at least understand
Yes.
what her obligations are.
Yes, and that's a
So
legal
that we
document.
have something.
And that's why we have to, have our ducks in a row on the
Right.
legal document if that doesn't fly.
Right.
But she has signed some of the paperwork, hasn't she?
Yes.
Yes, she has.
But I think it's important. We've got to.
She's signed the property declaration
Well, we have
form.
to, right, listen, everybody wants to see the project move forward, there's no
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Right.
But we have to be covered. I agree, we have to cover the town.
and I think the contract will.
Okay.
Right. So you wanna,
You made a motion, I need a second on your motion.
Gretchen made it.
You said I'll make that motion.
No, Gretchen
She
made
was
it.
She made the statement, so
Right.
you'll make the motion and he'll
Sure.
second it. Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Can I just have it clarified? I'm sorry, we're sending her a letter.
If you can't meet this week, you're going to send a certified letter to the grant recipient that this is the final notice and she needs to contact the town in 7 to 10 days. This one,
Business days.
7 to 10 business days.
Okay, I'll say yes to that.
And that's Claire with the rest of the individuals who voted yes. And Supervisor Farr.
Yes. And one other thing I have, we did move money, $500,000 from the Bank of Millville to the Bank of Salisbury, the money market. There's a money market account. We get a little bit more interest, and we can use it to. You're allowed to write so many checks from the account, so that's what we've done last week, the week before. So that was done. And that's all I have to talk about tonight. And I'll like to make a motion that we can close the meeting and go into an executive session.
Second.
To discuss
Legal matters.
Legal matters. And a personnel issue, I guess that's the second one, right?
You could say legal matters and personnel issue.
Okay.
Councilwoman
Talk to
Reamer?
you tomorrow.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.